Galish.
Stay alive.
Welcome to We Speak English Good TV. I am your announcer, Optimus Prime. Now, put your hands together, get ready to transform and roll out for your host, Mike E.P.
Oh, freshness. What is up, everyone? I hope y'all are doing okay. Bonnie, good to see you, my friend. Thank you so much for being here. It's always great to see your email. I can't find my W.S.E.G hat, so I have my Berg hat on, and I don't care for it much at all. Look at this shit. Look at this shit. What is this? Don't like that much. Anywho, as you guys can see, we are now in Fat Boy Fall. That's right. We are going to be eating pumpkin pie, giving thanks, and getting fatter and fatter as we settle into the winter season. We will just be growing outward and not upward. So I thought we redecorate the place. Fat Boy Fall is intact. What's up? You are a tree. Yes, I am. I am a tree. I am one with the tree and fall and boy. And fat. My God. Yeah, Fat Boy Fall. That's what I say. It's going to be a Fat Boy Fall. Now, I was thinking, I'm going to eat it all. Dang, that's a good one. Fat Boy Fall. I'm going to eat it all. Fat Boy Fall. Oh, shit. Okay. Fat Boy Fall. I'm going to eat it all. Fat Boy Fall. I'm gonna eat it all fat. Okay, yeah. That's a good observation, Bonnie. Ironically, we are the tree of all leaves. Papa Princess, how you doing? Thank you so much for being here. What a great contribution you just gave us all. Gotta eat them all. Fat boy fall. Gotta eat them all. No, I had another one. It was like, Fat Boy Fall. Ooh, baby, gonna eat you up. I'm sorry, that's terrible. It's terrible singing, but I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out as Fat Boy Fall progresses. Hot Boy Summer has officially, Sad Boy and Hot Boy Summer have officially ended, and we are now in our Fat Boy Fall season. As you guys can see, I have posted up here. Oh, I didn't change my follower goal. We got follower goals. We're trying to hit 1,000. We are actually at 912 followers. Holy ball sacks. Isn't that amazing? This thing right here, the Indigenous Americas Mexico, this is actually my DNA. So I'm just going to keep that up there. That's just going to be a part of the scene now. I told you guys I was almost half Mexican. I wasn't always. I was only 38% lying. Only 38% lying. Anyways, as you guys can see, we got Fanta here to contribute. Thank you, Fanta. I got my Celexa still because there's nothing like the, what is that called? Seasonal onset depression? Is that what they call it? I don't know. Whatever. Seasonal depression is real. Celexa's in the house. And of course, we have AOC walking in the background. Tax the rich. Thank you, AOC. Thank you for wearing that $30,000 dress. Or wait, no, what was it? $30,000 to get into the Met Gala. And then however much you paid for that awful looking dress. Not that I'm against taxing the rich at all. I just wish that they would follow through with that policy. We'll actually get to that in a second here. I do want to give thanks for our, this is the month of, or this is the time of Thanksgiving. So this is going to be nice, right? We got Thanksgiving. And then, of course, just a generation later, we have that same tribe at war, fighting for their freedom. So let's give thanks, everybody, for Thanksgiving and how the Pilgrims came over and befriended what are the name of the Wickapog? What's the name of that Indian tribe? Hold on, what is it? Come on, Mike, you got this. Come on, Mike. Whatever. It was King Philip's War. That's what it's called. King Phillips War was so King Philip's War. King Philip was the Metacoms, and it was a war. It was the first war that took place between the Indians and the settlers, and it was the first Indian War. And the name of the tribe, I'm just trying to find the tribe's name, the Metacoms, but it was like started with a W. There it is, Wampanoag, and the English colonists. So there you go. Let's give thanks, everybody. Hey, Wrecker, welcome in, man. Being good. Make me some guac and I'll be the your favorite today. What's up? Big hugs. Thank you for being here. That's who the Philippines are named after, I think. Is that really? Yo. So we're here in the give thanks season. I did want to point this out, by the way, everyone. You guys, thank you so much. You guys have been so awesome. This is what I just got right before I started streaming. You guys have been listening to the new song, Hamburger 2099, 666 times. 'Tis the season of the Dark Lord. And this is a huge contribution. So I appreciate you guys in All Hallows Eve and giving praise and thanks to our dark overlord, Hail Satan. So there you go, 666. Thank you so much for the Hamburger 2099. yeah. JK, everybody, I'm not a Satanist. I don't give a shit about any of that stuff. So there you go. Spoiler alert, I don't give a shit about Satan or the other one. Anyways, all right, here we go. There we go. Okay, so I want to get through these these opening topics. I'm going to try to get through them pretty quickly here so we can get to our guest today, who I didn't even mention. I don't even know if I could say his last name right. Galish, is that right? Dustin Galish. He gave me the thumbs up. He gave me the whatever. That's right. Yeah. That's how I am with my last name. My last name is ridiculous. Not that Galish is a ridiculous name, but that it's just a silly German name. So I get all kinds of iterations of my last name, and you know, it's good times. It's good times. Anyways, let's talk about the elephant in the room, everyone. Can we talk about the elephant in the room? Can we talk about how MGK has just been such a fucking douchebag lately? And that he was cool at what I like MGK. MGK has bars. I didn't like MGK when he started hating on Slim Shady, though. But, you know, apparently it started with Slim. I ain't gonna, you know, fucking Eminem's a dick. We all know that he starts shit too, so whatever. But, you know, I'm old. And Eminem's my homie. Not like in real life, but, you know, like in my heart, he's my homie. So I just thought this was really interesting. Machine Gun Kelly got relentlessly booed at a metal-leaning Louder Than Life festival. I think this was in Kentucky, and this is like a purist metal festival. And they brought on MGK, who went from rapper to, I don't know, pop punk. I don't know what he was doing at a metal festival, but you know, whatever. Well, you gotta get paid somehow, I suppose. So I just want to kind of show you guys, because this is just unbelievably funny. And of course, I got to shit on people when they're getting shit on. You know, you kick them while they're down. That's my policy. Hold on. Let me see. Oh, shit. Did I even set this up right? There's just so much to do all the time. All right. Hold on. Get out of here. There we go. Here we go. Oh, there we go. All right, so here's the article. Rolling Stones put it out. Following a week of beefing with Slipknot, Machine Gun Kelly was greeted with a chorus of boos throughout the singers-rappers Saturday set at the metal-leaning Louder Than Life festival. Last weekend, Machine Gun Kelly launched into a tirade at Chicago's Riot Fest against Slipknot, who were playing at the same time on a neighboring stage, calling the group old weird dudes with masks. It was later revealed that there was some residual animosity over the nixed collaboration between MGK and Slipknot's Corey Taylor. MGK, an artist who, as Taylor hinted, failed in one genre and decided to go rock. Couldn't agree more. Actually, he's an accomplished rapper, so I don't... Exactly. It doesn't fit the theme. I actually respect MGK as a rapper. Like, he has bars. There's no doubt about it. But I don't know what he's trying to do with this, and I'm going to go ahead and just go with Corey Taylor. I was a fan of Slipknot at one time in my life. Not that angry anymore. You know, I'm angry, but not that angry. So let's just listen to a little bit of the video and just enjoy ourselves.
Enjoy the rest of the concert.
You suck. You suck. Okay, so I'm going to pause it there and kind of go through over to about here. So I don't want to get DCMA'd. So let's go listen to the result of this song. So let's see. Hopefully. Look at people are holding up their middle fingers. Look at. Oh my God, this is amazing. Get out of here. No one cares. Look at everyone raising their middle finger at this dude.
Fuck yeah, dude. Everyone fucking get on the fucking shoulders of some strong, sweaty guy and fucking crowd surf on up
Fuck
here.
yeah, dude.
This next song goes like this. Because clearly people don't know. All I know is I don't do nothing. People talk, but they don't do nothing.
People talk, but they don't do nothing. Which, wait, don't do nothing. That is definitely a double negative. So they do something. They boo your ass, motherfucker. That shit's funny to me. Look, if you're an MGK fan, that's your fault. That's your problem. Nothing against you and your terrible choices in music. I'm just saying, like, it's very funny to me to see this. Now, if that was me getting booed, well, I wouldn't care for it at all. But, you know, again, we keep the monitor down. This is, by the way, this is the first time Dustin has ever met me or probably seen this show. So he must be thinking that I'm the biggest cocksucker ever, which I am. Okay, so AOC wore Tax the Rich to this $30,000 a plate Met Gala thing in New York City. And AOC is the biggest phony in the fucking world. So let's just sort of go further into that. And I don't want to get into politics per se, but this affects me and all musicians who are coming up right now. The COVID relief bill doesn't raise taxes on, or doesn't. This is the wrong fucking thing. This is the wrong thing. So I don't know if you guys have been hearing about this lately, but they're in the March stimulus bill, they snuck in a little caveat where if you have over $600 in your bank account, then the IRS is going to be going through your finances. And so this is sort of a part of their stimulus package to pay back all the money that they're just printing and giving to corporations, like corporate welfare, like crazy right now. And a little bit went for us. Just a little bit, though. A little tiny bit went for us, and the rest went to corporations, which is amazing. Thank you. Anyways, the reason why I bring this up is because one of the caveats is that they are going after gig workers, which affects me. And so if you get paid through Cash App, if you get paid through Venmo for any kind of work, if you're a musician, if you're an Uber driver, if you're anybody, they are going to start taxing that shit. And if you make over $600 or if you receive over $600 within a month or a year, I think it's a year, they will start taxing that shit, which on one part is interesting because, you know, I always thought, I was like, when do they tax this shit? Do they tax Venmo? And like, I guess not, but now they do. So yeah, that's what's going to happen. They're going to start taxing and starting January 1st, 2022, if you make more than $600 on your Venmo app, Cash App within a year, they're going to start taxing that shit, and you're going to have to fill out a 1099K. Is that what it's called? So just keep that in mind to my musicians and my artist friends and my gig worker friends. They are not going to tax the rich. they're going to tax us. And that's why this dress right here fucking enrages me. She says that she represents a party that represents, the working class and tax the rich. And no, that's not what they mean at all. They're coming for us, for musicians and artists. What the fuck? So AOC can go and she can go and rethink her policies and what she puts out there. I was gonna say something way worse than that, but I didn't want to sound like an asshole, like a complete asshole, especially because she is a young lady who is doing interesting things in politics, but it just seems like she's just following orders. And this was for the gram, like this picture right here, that was just for the gram. That it means zero. It means nothing. She cares not about you or me. She only cares about her corporate overlords that supply her with the cash that keeps her power going and going and going in perpetuity. Doesn't give a shit about us. Tax the rich my ass. It drives me fucking nuts. So now they're coming after us, musicians and artists. It's fucking disgusting. It really is fucking disgusting. And so I have to say, I didn't want to start off with a political thing, but this affects me personally. This affects any artist or musicians or Uber drivers or Door Dashers. This affects you now. Okay, this is how they're gonna repay the money that they lent us, right? With all this printed money, they're gonna they're gonna take it right back out of our pockets, because why would they tax their corporate overlords that supply them with the power they need to make these awful policies that fuck us over? So, okay, so there you go. They try to tax the rich, but the cost gets passed down. I'll have to look this up. Her ass. She should sell the dress and give the profits to some local arts charity or something. She's actually selling tax the rich sweatshirts on her website, and she gets about 80% of the profit. Someone broke it down on TikTok. It was funny. It was actually Mr. Nice Guy. Does anybody know who Mr. Nice Guy is from Shark Tank? I follow him on TikTok, and he's an asshole, but I love it. I love how big of an asshole he is. But he was going through the numbers. He was like, inside every socialist is a capitalist. So there you go. You can go buy a tax the rich sweatshirt for like, what was it, $60, and she gets about 80% of that. So yeah, there you go. Go buy that sweatshirt and show your support of hypocrisy. It's such a fucking sad time to be alive. But it's amazing on the other side of it, too. I mean, I'm actually having a blast, so whatever. I love your belly, bro. It's Fat Boy Fall. It's Fat Boy Fall. What, Ariel like weed? Oh, Ariel like weed. I like weed, too. Man, you're in the right place. Hold on. That reminds me. I need to hit my bong. Hold on. It's going to take me a second. Hold on. Hippie, what's up? Welcome back. Mm. Oh my God. All right. What does it say? Sorry, looks like your vent was fake news. What are you talking about? Vent was fake news. How is that fake news? What, the sweatshirts? Is she not selling the sweatshirts? Is that what you're saying? Are you saying that TikTok lied to me? Don't you tell me. Don't you tell me that. Oh, people already got tax the rich. Everybody. Why are people mad about AOC's tax the rich sweatshirt? I wonder. Thursday afternoon. You know what? We'll talk about this when we get. But it was on the interwebs. It must be true. Exactly, Bonnie. In my country, it's called "You Drop a Tree." Nice. Okay, look, enough about AOC. Maybe we'll talk about that in a second. JTC, come on, Mike. JT and the Conspiracy, holy shit. My band, just Jason, really. Me and Jason are going to be doing a live music stream on October 16th, 2021. I don't know why I added the year. It's a Sunday around 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are going to be doing, I believe we're doing the whole music set. We're going to be taking requests and everything. So be there, be square. It's going to be a little acoustic duo music stream. It's going to be a good time. So mark your calendars. And again, everybody, thank you guys so much for going out and listening to Hamburger 2099. Here you go again. Go and get yourself some Hamburger 2099. Oh, Hamburger. Jeez Louise, Mike. You are something else. Yep, that was a burp. Go listen to it. It's at 666 streams right now. Let's get it from Satan's asshole up to 1,000. I don't know. So there you go. Again, put it on repeat. Just listen to the song on repeat. If you hate the song, even better. Mute your computer. Don't mute Spotify or your player, and make sure you just put it on repeat and let that bitch go all night. Trust me, you'll feel better in the morning. You'll be contributing to my family and our health and well-being, and mostly my ego. Which, I'm very hungry. I am not even close to full with my ego. Okay, guys. I think that's it. I think we got through it. Yeah, I think that's it. All right, guys. Well, go ahead and mic up Dustin. We are going to get into this. Everybody, please put your hands together. Hold on. This is not working. Hold on. Please hold on. Wait. Wait, we're going to do this. Just give me 1 second. Just give me 1 fucking second. There's just too much shit to do before you stream, okay? You people, you guys, you gals, you bunch of folks, also non-binary folks. I'm gonna keep it going. Okay, here we go. Oh, wait, no. God. Everybody put your hands together for today's guest, Dustin Galish of Tree No Leaves. Boom, there he is. There he is. Yes. Yeah. Oh, I forgot the theme music. There it is. Yeah. Everybody, there he is. Dustin, there it is. There he goes. There he goes.
Oh, nice. I like the flare. That's very nice.
Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry, Dustin. Okay. I always forget I got music for the guests now. Thank you for those claps, everybody. I'm gonna go ahead and mute our alerts so we can not be bombarded with woos and canceleds and stuff. Yeah,
It's very warm.
it is warm. Yes. Welcome to the Space Matrix. We are here. We are doing it huge. Yeah, and we also have a hot tub here in the Space Matrix. So enjoy that. I have a hot tub too. You're not the only one with a hot tub, Dustin. Don't get ahead of yourself, okay, bud?
It's pretty lonely in here. I'm just being straight.
Just being real with you, homie. There you go.
Although I'd probably prefer just sitting in a hot tub by myself. I'd just be real, actually. Yeah.
Not here, not in the Space Matrix. This is you and me, baby. But I got my own. See, I got my own. So there you go.
Very nice.
I got my own. So you know, we're, in the time of COVID, we can't be sharing hot tubs. You know, I don't know. Like, have you gotten? Have you made some changes in how you interact with society? I was smoking, I was sharing joints with everybody at Dave Matthews Band, and I came home and realized how big of a dumb mistake that was and what could have happened with that. So, you know, I'm just curious, have you changed your social cues? Are you not shaking hands? Are you sharing cigarettes or joints, or are you drinking after other people? I don't know. I'm just curious. Have you altered your ways, or are you one of those cats, especially it seems like Ohio has a lot of them who are just like, I don't give a shit, pandemic what? You know, they're out there doing their thing, hate people that wear masks and the whole thing.
I think I'm like a blend of those two. Like I come
Ah.
from that place where everyone just says, give it to me already. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so, I grew up eating food off the floor. Sort of. I was the guy in like school that would eat your leftovers. Sort of. It wasn't that I was malnutrition. It was more just like I was like, well, if you're not going to eat that, I will. So my brain was never really germ phobic. Like my wife is more that, and so, but I don't ever get sick really. I mean, cross my fingers, but the joint thing's actually spot on. We played a show on Friday, and after the show, we were kind of hanging out. Someone was there, and they, hey, we got some joints. You want to smoke? I was like, all right. And he actually had us each one in a separate. So we all got our own individual one. So I was like, all right, this guy's adapted and made it work. I was pretty impressed. So
he's acclimated well.
Yeah, so I think between my internal family and bandmates, I've probably kept my distance a bit. Yeah, It's sort of strange. I shake hands though for sure. I think that's probably a little much.
Yeah.
We just played a show the other day where I was singing indoors. So if anything, I'm probably like the worst culprit now. Just spreading my stuff everywhere, but I could care less. So
I was like, I don't really care. Nobody knows what to do anymore with extra awkward elbow greetings and weird tension when sharing smokables. Yeah, it is weird. Sounds a lot like W.S.E.G. Yeah, I got tons of mason jar bongs. Everyone gets their own. Hippie, yo.
Yeah, there's some smart ways to do it. No, for sure. I think we're all creative in that way. So I don't think it's ever going to get in the way, especially if you're a bit of a stoner, you're going to figure it out.
Where there's a will, there's a way. Where there's
no like, man, well, we can't do this anymore. Like, we'll figure it out.
No, we're going to figure this shit out. Don't worry. No, I absolutely agree. Stoners are notoriously MacGyverish. So like we'll make this work, COVID or not, we'll make it work, like even if you have to split the joint and, like cut the joint in half and boom, boom, boom. But yeah, I don't know, man. I just was in that mode, like I'm just in that mode. Like I don't want to be, I don't want to be forced to be afraid of something that, like I don't like that.
I think being afraid of people is the most dangerous thing. I think that's the thing I'm trying to avoid. I think that's, if anything with COVID was, being afraid of a disease is kind of one thing, but I think being afraid of like being around people or just like, I remember there was definitely it wasn't that long where, but like when people were around you, you were like, oh, I have to like get away from this person or something. That was a very strange time. I hope we're never there again. I sort of, even playing shows and like restaurants opening, I think people realize like, we don't have to be afraid of each other, but we played one show in Cleveland not that long ago where it was indoors and there was a lot of younger people there. And it was the first time I was actually in a space like that and forgot how sort of incestuous that is relative to just air and just sweat. And I like that. It's part of what you like about playing shows, but you're just like, damn, it's been a while since I've been in a room with just like, you can smell each other and like, it's sort of like, awkwardly, full. Cause you want that too as a musician, you want an empty room, but still, it was pretty awesome.
You got to think of that. You got to think of that when you're inhaling other people's body excretions. It's like
turning their air into like songs. It's like here you go back. It's sort of sort of like
recycling COVID air. No, I was just at Dave Matthews a couple weekends ago at the Gorge in Washington, and it was like 20,000 people just. Like nobody had masks on, like no one gave a shit. Unless you were in cities, like in Seattle, they were really freaked out about it. But like you go out into the rural areas and like where the Gorge is well outside of Seattle. So it's kind of rural in this smaller little town. And no one gave a shit. Like, like there was parts where we were all being funneled back into the campground and like, my campmates, my friends were like putting on their masks. I was like, it's probably a good idea. And so I put my mask on when we're traveling, being herded, to our campsites, but then take the mask off and share joints. Here we go, everybody.
It doesn't make no sense. Like there's not a lot of logic to this. A lot of it's just symbolism and sort of you're like, hey, I'm at least trying to not be part of the problem or something. I hate to say that. It's like a South Park joke, but like better be part of the solution, not the problem. But it's like it has become more of just no matter what, it's at least minimizing it somewhat, whatever you want to argue about. But it seems to be like, yeah, I wish at least there's less of it than there could be. But who knows? I don't know. Most of the stuff seems to be made up. People forget. I think doctors are just people too. They're trying to figure shit out in their own way. And
when you
elected officials, they're just winging it most of the time.
Yeah, exactly. And then when you see and when everything just comes out about blatant lies that they told us, it's like, then how are you even supposed to trust any of them now? Like, it's
we didn't have an established medical community that was super respected and like, oh, these guys are very honest. Like, the last 20 years we're like, good Lord, most of this stuff is focused on money and almost like selling drugs. And so it sucks because not everything they're going to do is nefarious, but I understand sort of some healthy sort of questioning of it, but it's different with the pandemic, I think. So it's like almost like gotta be picky when you decide to sort of question them, whatever it can be. Same with politicians. Like sometimes you're like, all right, it's election season, they're definitely going to say a lot more weird shit when it's election season. But during the off time, most of them will probably give you a way more straightforward answer, if there's no cameras around or something.
Yeah. As soon as the cameras come on, it's just like they just go right back into their sponsored lies, I should say. I
think it's been good for musicians to be at the forefront of this stuff too. I think it's like there are some industries that sort of have been forced to kind of show their necessity too, of like what's actually needed. And I hope music feels a part of that. I mean, it's scary now. Like you're just talking up in the show with sort of taxing musicians. As you see, my studio here is like very luxurious. I'm making so much money doing this. I have my used record. I got my used record collection. I got a corner with a microphone. That I sold my Omnicord to buy that. That's how much money I have. So it's sort of like them taking any of that, because it is stuff. It's pretty on key is where, about 4 months ago, I decided to go 100% freelance and musician based, sort of, I do other work like video and photography and some graphic design stuff. That's what I went to school for. But, being a gigging musician, I've never really given it a full try. Some of it's stamina too. It's hard to work a 40-hour week job. I have a kid as well. So where do you fit in some sort of, let me go play for 3 hours and get home? There's some sort of stamina there, but I think you realize how important that money is. And even any sort of small fraction being taken is sort of significant at this point.
Absolutely.
But part of me likes that they take it because at least it could at least make it easier. So I don't have to figure it out myself.
Right.
It gets a little confusing of what should be taxed and what's not. As sort of a musician, it's a little foggy, even with anything you do as a freelance.
Yeah.
Usually don't seem to care if you're not making much money, but if you're looking at sort of, a couple $100, which seems a little strange, but at the end of the day, if you're making a couple thousand a year, I guess you're a semi-professional at that point,
Right. Yeah. And I do see the point, especially of the Venmo thing and the Cash App thing. Because
but do you need that cash revenue? Like, what, you're gonna take the $2 from my T-shirt sale? Like, what the fuck is that? You know what I mean? Sort of.
No,
I'm pretty sure.
But it's gone on for a long time where these transactions are happening on this app, and none of it's getting taxed.
Sure.
And Venmo does have policy where if you are transferring more than $10,000, they are notifying the IRS and they notify you, like, hey, that's a lot of money. But other than that, it's not being taxed at all. So I do see how, maybe the government and they are missing out on a lot of money, but I think they're missing out on a lot more money when we're talking about Jeff Bezos didn't, what was it? 2014, he paid zero taxes. The richest man alive, whoever was, pays zero to very little on taxes. And people say, oh, well, his corporation pays taxes up the ass. But it's like...
Sure, but whatever. I mean, that's sort of relative. Yeah, but none of us get to sort of pick and choose.
But they don't, because they move all their banking and they move all their shit offshore. All their taxes are done in these weird, crazy tax shelters. And it's like, okay, they pay sale. People are saying they have to pay some taxes when they're sending stuff out and shipping and stuff. But a large majority of this shit is shifted offshore, so none of it comes back into our society. None of it gets back into funding our schools, our roads, the things that really, our infrastructure, which is crumbling, crumbling. And so I don't dig that at all. And so when I do see people like AOC walking around with tax the rich, yet her party is just passed this fucking crazy law where they're going to be taxing gig workers, people who are already fucking sliding by the skin of their teeth. They're going to go after them, and anybody who has more than $600 in their bank account. $600, that $600 in their bank account is probably going towards rent. Gig work.
Yeah, I guess what I would do is just be like, I guess I'm going to start storing money under my bed and keep about 500 in the bank all the time. You know, is that like that's the culture we're going for? You know, it's sort of like people will do that, especially if you're scraping by. I mean, that's sort of
absolutely. Why would you want the government to know fucking that you have a measly $600? Like, you know, $600 sounds like a lot to some people, but like that's not even rent for a lot of people. You know, like that's not even monthly groceries for their kids. So it's like, I don't know, man. Going after the people who can't.
The infrastructure bill, I think, they mentioned that I think it would like 98% of people wouldn't be taxed. You know, sort of it really is sort of anyone over making like, you know, $400,000 a year or something would be taxed. Right? And so it seems almost, how in the world would this not pass? But you only need like, I guess, a couple people who are those rich people to just tell their congressman, like, I don't like this idea. It almost seems like that's as simple as it is, sadly. You know, sort of as a nation, I think both sides are fine with taxing the rich. It seems to be, my sort of like hillbilly family in the middle of nowhere, they're never just like, damn it, I wish those rich people got richer. I mean, some of it's because they feel like maybe one day they'll be rich like that. You know, it's like, I think a lot of people like Trump because they thought if the government gets out of the way, they could become him or something, you know?
Right. If only the government wouldn't be holding us back and we could be rich.
We'd all be millionaires. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't work that way, actually. No.
We got to froze. I know someone who worked illegally for 5 years and was sent a letter from the government being like, so how are you getting by? And he had to prove/get people to lie to the government for him. That sucks. You know, you think you're working under the radar, but shit is not going that way. Shit. I wonder what we should do here. What should we do about this? Hold on. Let me
No, we can't all be millionaires. That creates.
Nope. Oh, there it is. He's back. There you go.
All right, here we go. Okay.
Oh my God, everything's going crazy right now. Did you jump out and jump back in?
I don't know. I don't know what happened. I just got kicked out. So it actually kicked me out for a second.
Of course it did. Thank you, Zoom. You amazing piece of technology that sucks sometimes when it's not working. It fucking sucks when it's not working, but it's amazing when it is. Shit, man. What were you saying again? You were saying that we all can't be rich and.
Yeah, I mean, that's the main thing. It's like, sort of, I think some people feel like if there's no regulation that we'd all become rich or something, it sort of doesn't make any sense. It's sort of, even capitalism, it doesn't really work that way, seemingly. You know, everyone can't be a king on an island somewhere, which seems like that's some people's goal, which is sort of, I don't know.
Right. And like that idea of being, that is sold to us is like, well, you could do that too, and not everyone can do that. But I do think that everyone can find a life of meaning and like a life where you're working for, the betterment of you and your community, where you actually feel like you're contributing to something and live a prosperous and meaningful life, and that could be anything from, being the garbage man to working in a factory, although factory jobs are on their way out. Let's face that. But
no, that's for real. No, for sure. Yeah, those jobs are moving on for sure, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the robots are coming for sure. I think that's part of it. Like, I've been trying to focus on like doing the work that I love, because I feel like so many jobs are going to be replaced by robots. So it's like, you almost like, now is the time to figure out like what you want to do. Because some of these basic, just sort of, hey, I can read and write, I can show up kind of jobs are going to just be gone. Right. And some of those, that's all it was. And I was like, can you read? Can you write? Do you not have a criminal record? Can you show up on time? Well, then you can just kind of stand here and make it work, for some people that, made a living like that and like own homes. And I think that's going away though. So it's sort of, you got to be way more DIY in how you approach a lot of stuff, even as a musician for sure. There's no infrastructure to like, there's no fat guy with a cigar who's going to give you a record contract anymore. I mean, it's sort of, I think that guy's dead. He's gone. So.
Well, now they just have big stakes in Spotify and Tidal and stuff. They've just shifted focus is all. Now they just take it.
Yeah, I mean, at least there was something tangible. Definitely, like there's a person you could talk to. But now it's sort of with Spotify, it's tricky. I mean, I think we've been a band for really about 10 to 12 years and never really made sense of Spotify.
Yeah.
Even how to use it or what's the correct way to maximize followers. It's always been a weird thing for me because it doesn't monetarily really provide much at all. I think they looked at like if you get 1 million streams, I think it gives you like maybe $2,000 or something. It's not much,
Yeah.
You think that there would be sort of more substantial payback for that stuff, but it's not much.
1 million.
I suppose you could sell like 100 records and
let's
seemingly
see.
do just as well.
1 million streams on Spotify. $1 or when what? How much? Hold on, let me get you involved here.
Yeah, like what is that actually? That'd be interesting to see what that actually is.
So here's just Google's basic breakdown. Well, you can learn using Spotify calculator. These are numbers that streams that musicians need to obtain to earn $1 or 1,000. Therefore, if a musician gets 1 million views on Spotify, his earnings would be about $4,366. Dex, what's up, baby? Good to see you. Welcome in. Now it's the skinny lady with the green smoothie.
That's interesting. That seems, yeah. Like, how much money would you have to spend to like promote your stuff to even get to that point? You know, what I mean? It sort of feels like how do you naturally get those type of numbers?
Right, and $5,000 will get you on like some really nice playlist, but not the best, like it'll get you on some place. It'll just $5,000 is almost like what was it like, because my wife took out an ad, she did like $200 or something on an ad, which is nothing. I mean, the thing is that they really do go after musicians on these when you want to buy into these playlists, and so they are still just keep sucking our resources always. They're just always sucking.
I just can't do it. I think that sort of I've almost had to say, hey, our Spotify numbers are just not. They're organic. They just are what they are. It's just people who are on there who go, I like this song, I guess I'll like it. We've never had any traction from playlists, and it's sort of part of me. It's hard. Collectively we have a lot of listens, but we've also never been a band focused on a single too, which a lot of those seem to be more based on the idea of singles and stuff like that.
Right. That is totally the wave right now is just like release singles, not albums or something. It's like,
so we did the opposite. Yeah, really. Let's just put on a concept record with like
we did the opposite. We did a live thing.
I think I submitted like one of the singles to the Spotify playlist and I tried to explain it, and then they're probably just like, I don't understand. There's a song about birds and shit. I don't know. This probably people aren't gonna like this. I'm like, you gotta have the context, It's,
you don't get it, man.
He ate this psychedelic fruit. Now he's like transformed. Like, it's cool. They're like, yeah, that doesn't translate. Just so part of me, likes people who are more invested in the music. It's not as like surface level at times, but also, I love Spotify. I listen to so much different stuff on there, so it's very love and hate.
Yeah, for sure.
I wish they would just remove the numbers. I think that's something I've been trying to push. Like, if I went to Congress, I would be like, if you want your artists to not just like kill themselves and jump off bridges, we got to eliminate this whole sort of analytical side of like numbers and likes and followers. I think it creates a weird idea because you even start to subjectively look at other people's projects with that as sort of indicating, is this good or not, or is this valid? And I think that's super dangerous. Whereas like if you look at like artists, you go to like like the Toledo Museum of Art, you're not going to see some fucking numbers under it that's like, this painting's been viewed 5,000 times, and like you just be like, what? You just look at it and you're like, does this make me feel something? Do I like this? And then you move on. I think it's very weird. Even YouTube's the same way, where we have a lot of these stuff on YouTube and nothing's ever took fire, some videos, but at one point I wanted to put them in chronological order because I just sort of I wanted to have to be that way more. And so I took them all down and re-uploaded them. But like the streaming was lower, and it wasn't a lot. But at the end of the day, it just seems weird. Like, why you can't even turn it off? Like, I actually was trying to look into, can you just turn off like your streaming numbers so no one cares, right? Because like when I'm watching a music video, like it's kind of weird that you got to go look at that stream and go like, oh, this has 1 billion views. Holy shit, this must be this.
Right.
As opposed to like when you're a kid or something, you just watched it and you made you feel something and you moved on. You could still share it. there wasn't numbers involved, which then creates a weird, economy where they're trying to take advantage of musicians like ourselves in some ways, say, hey, if you pay, we can help give 10,000 streams. You're like, oh, that makes me feel good. And here's some money for it. It's just weird. I don't support it. It's part of me is very like, maybe because I'm turning 40 soon too. I'm just this curmudgeon, but it seems a little disingenuous because it does it's hard sometimes when you put out a record and it doesn't stream as much and you feel like it's a failure.
Right.
But if you actually created something that seems like it's a nice piece of work, then like it's better. It prevents you from wanting to keep doing what you're doing. Where if it's just make it, move on, continue going. Whereas a gig musician, it's nice because you're getting paid. You show up, you move on. That's sort of like, this seems sustainable. But when putting out records, it can be kind of depressing where you're like, why does no one like this? Or, it's sort of unique. Plus people listen and stuff in so many ways now too. It's like all over.
Absolutely. No, you're right. And these numbers, they do cause this anxiety. I mean, I talk so much shit about all this stuff, but like I participate so hard in it, and I'll even look at numbers to judge the validity of a video. It's like, oh, well, this video has more numbers. So, especially when I'm looking up something like informational based, it's like, oh, this has more numbers, so it must be more, and really it doesn't have to be more accurate. It just has to be more sort of sensationalized, and it has to be more of a spectacle than the other one was. And it had to get your attention faster and quicker and better than the other ones did. And they could be telling bold-faced lies, but if they say it confidently with nice graphics and with a British accent, then shit, what do you, you don't got shit on it. It's like, well, he must be right. And so these numbers also will lead you down to just sort of picking and choosing what's real, like what presents itself as real to you could be based on numbers as well. And young women and young non-binary folks who are coming up in grade school and high school are killing themselves in record numbers because of numbers, or bullying. But it's a very, it's really deep. It's really deeply embedded into our culture now. And fuck, dude. And now they're talking about the social rating system. Have you heard that?
I'm familiar with them. It's sort of definitely know China has that and they've been using it for a while. My wife, her best friend, and her husband actually are teaching there, sort of like as sort of foreigners, as kind of they're living there now, and sort of we've had some interesting conversation with them. But then like once we learned that they had that sort of social credit thing, I think all of my weird sort of Big Brother paranoia about that place was sort of validified in some ways. I think there's a Black Mirror episode about that too, for sure.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Where they sort of use that, and like we're already doing that, but I think that can be implemented in some super strange ways. I think there was one where like if you help somebody home when they're drunk, you get like credits. It's really weird stuff.
Yeah, you help somebody with their groceries or something.
Part of me is like, man, this is like if you're like a hippie, you're like, this is a dream, man. It's sort of like, what would incentivize us to just be nice? I get that. But I think it's a little spooky.
Well, it's really spooky when like, oh, you weren't nice to that person, or you said an off-color joke, so now you don't get your weekly credits. You don't get your weekly Biden credits, so you can't go and buy food this week. Or like your car is deactivated because you've been speeding too often, or you are no.
That one I'm actually not super against. That's not a terrible idea.
No, it's not a terrible idea.
Cars are like, wait a second, you've been driving like a complete asshole. It's time to take a break. You're like, all right.
But it is terrible. It is terrible.
Joking,
because, No, I know. It's just any sort of.
But that could happen.
It could. Yeah. It could. And then I heard Bonnie. I don't know. You guys in Canada are starting to do this on the corporate level, right? I don't know if Bonnie. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but I know up in Canada, they started sort of adopting. I think in a corporate level, they're adopting the social rating system, and I don't even know what that means. What does that mean in a corporate level? Your social rating, like you were respectful enough to other people. I don't know. I don't even know how this shit works. I think
it seems like something some robot is like creating right now for us. Like, wait, you guys are really kind of evil to each other. Like, how am I going to solve Earth's problems? I'm just going to make some weird algorithm that's going to force them to just be nice to each other. And we're all go, okay.
Well,
there'd be some like conspiracy, like robots taking over, just trying to save us, or the aliens are like, these guys just keep blowing each other up. We got to throw in some like credit score system from some galaxy that we were like, this might work for these humans. it worked for this. It worked for this planet. They seem to be doing way better now.
We I just see us just turning on them anyways. Just even if things are better, there's gonna be some guy who's like, "Can't tell me what to do." It's just gonna start shooting randomly at spaceships and shit.
I mean, we already live in a system where there is a credit system. I mean, if you're an asshole enough to people, you lie, you cheat, you steal shit, people start to say, "I don't really want you around." I mean, it's sort of, we have some of that in place already, and we have resumes, references. It's almost like, it's like a weird version of that. But I think the dangers of technology is it could be manipulated. Yeah. Plus, people would probably start being like, how would you know if someone's being nice for real, or if they're just trying to up their credit score so they can, get a better home loan,
right?
Or something like
right. And Bonnie brought up a good point. Kindness doesn't equal truth. I mean,
no, it doesn't.
A lot of this stuff that's happening now with the whole woke movement, there's some stuff that we have to just sort of eat as truth when we know scientifically this is not correct, at least in science, and we sort of have to accept that as truth. If you say anything to question that, all of a sudden your social rating goes way down, right? Like you can get attacked on Twitter.
It's like, hey, we're kind of trying to figure this out. I don't know if we've figured out what the answer is here. But it's sort of, you need discourse to figure out what this really means. I think that's a fear where just because I have a different opinion about something doesn't mean that we're both not trying to get to the real kind of truth of this situation. It doesn't mean that your opinion is invalid, but it seems to be most of the time there's something in the middle that gets you closer to whatever. It's like a compromise, I think, between science and also just, what feels right.
Right. And there has to be a balance, which, that's the thing I hear a lot. And that was my opinion for a long time, is like facts don't care about your opinions, but people do. And so facts do have to be sort of presented in a way that's palatable for people, which, it is sort of infantilizing folks. But I suppose that's where we're at. We sort of have to spoon feed this shit. But even when people do it eloquently, even when people do present facts eloquently and they say it in a way that's moving, there's still people out there who are like, fuck you, that's not right, you're an asshole, you're a piece of shit, you're a white supremacist, it's all that, they're trying to manipulate society. Yeah, I mean, it's really, I think it's more about dividing, right? Divide, conquer, control.
That's the main thing, I think, and we've all known that for a long time, like that the reason why that term exists, this is not a new thing, man. I mean, divide and conquer, it's like the oldest trick in the book, right? It's probably, I'm assuming some guy in like a robe wrote that down, some piece of stone, like some piece of stone or some shit, just like divide and conquer. Like, how do we mess this place up? Well, let's give this whole country two different ideas and keep telling them they're both right, and like, oh shit. Yeah. So and then we can come in and like take shit over, It's sort of, it's sad. That's kind of the truth. I think, especially we live in a two-party system and then, like, we're sort of forced to do that no matter what. I mean, it's like, we like the NFL. There's always a winner and a loser. I think the younger generations are moving away from that reality. I feel like I believe I'm the oldest millennial possible. I was born in 81. So I'm the grandfather of the millennials.
You're an elder millennial.
Really am an elder millennial. And so I do feel like there's something there where even myself aren't driven by the same things that like my father and even grandparents are in some ways. It's very different. Well, I think money is important. I think we're all starting to realize it's a bit fake too. It seems to be like they're just making this shit up. So.
Yeah, we're just printing it. We're just printing this shit
up. No, just making stuff up, right?
Yeah, it seems to be we're just going as we go.
Can be empowering too,
yeah. I don't know if the youth is moving away from this, because the youth does seem to be sort of glomming on to this extreme woke idea again, where if you question it, which that whole idea, the whole woke movement has been sort of co-opted into the left and the Democrats, and so I do think that they have sort of chosen a side, and even though the Democrats these are only useful idiots for them, right? Like, sure. BLM was useful for them, and now we don't hear about BLM. And in fact, BLM is protesting the mandates, the vaccine mandates right now, No one's talking about BLM protesting vaccine mandates because of their racist fucking mandates. I mean, this shit is.
Well, in some ways, it's like that would, because that's a unifying event, right? You might have a lot of people who have been against Black Lives Matter, and they're like, wait a second, they're in the civil liberties and some of their rights too. Maybe this is something we share in common. Now, it's not going to save all the problems, but it is something, it doesn't fit the narrative, right? I think that's, for me, as much as like I've moved out of sort of the conspiracy world. I mean, I've, like say 9/11 happened when I was 20. Yeah. So I was like, Jesus, I think I started 7. Exactly. I think I started smoking weed in 2002. So I was like, and the internet was like, have you seen this video? And I was just like, so I've been there. But I think that it provided me to question both sides and try to, but it also made me realize I don't fucking know anything that's going on. Actually, this is really complicated. I think that's my biggest thing. I try to tell people is like, this is complicated.
Right. It's not just this or that. It's not just Biden wants to fucking eat children. It's like, there's a whole, what do you call it? There's a whole group of people that are working on these things, it's like, so there's always somebody who has a different idea about how to go forward on things. And then, oh my God, I'm not explaining myself good here. I'm not.
It's like too many cooks in the kitchen too. I mean, this part of it too.
Yeah.
I mean, how does that really work in the end from a sense of trying to make democracy work? It's like,
right. Well, I mean, but that's the sense of democracy, right? Is that we come together and make a decision as a collective. And so, but that doesn't, I don't know if that's even a thing anymore. When you look at these politicians who are so like hardlining their ideas and their party, it's like, it's only creating the divide, it's only pushing the divide forward. This idea that, when we're divided people, how do you come together to protest or to work against powers that be who are trying to take advantage of us? It's like when we're all separate and we all hate each other, we're all fighting each other instead of the people who are trying to really oppress us, which is the powers that be. I mean, it's
I think that's the biggest realization, I think. And I think that's my fear of the left is like, I think the right has sort of realized some of that, and the left used to. It's all, it seems to be whoever's in power, then they have cultural amnesia and they're like, switched. You know what I mean? You're like, even like when like we pulled out of Afghanistan, like all of a sudden the whole left, like a lot of Democrats were like, what are we doing leaving? Like, we should fight wars forever. I'm like, wait a second. Like,
I thought
I'm not that old. I can't remember when like our whole point was get the fuck out as soon as possible. Exactly. Even Obama was like, get the fuck out of there. This is a terrible idea.
Right.
And everyone's like, yeah. And then now we're like, no, it's about the schools. And you're like, wait, that was, 15 years ago. It's sort of, it makes me worried that people are that short-sighted in their memories because you're forced to pick sides. It doesn't make any sense. I think that's like, oh, they're, the right wants to get out of there. Well, I guess we want to stay then, I guess, right?
Right. Yeah, we have to because we can't
agree. We agree. Like if we're agreed, then we're all, like, I don't understand. Like, it's like you're not allowed to agree almost, which is very weird. I thought
that is awful.
It feels so much better to agree with people, even people I disagree with on religion, politics, all kinds of stuff. When you agree, it's almost like a bonding experience. I feel like you can be euphoric and sort of finding common ground. I mean, damn,
it is amazing.
Yeah.
Hippie.
Sort of people aren't seeking that anymore. It's more like, how can I find the person who I can't find common ground with, even though I didn't even try. Now I'm gonna like tell them how terrible they are, so we don't even have a chance to have a conversation.
Call them stupid and deplorable. And
like the Scarlet Letter. I don't know if you're familiar with that book. I don't know if you were forced to read that as a kid. It's like one of those books. For some reason, I remembered. Like
I've seen the Demi Moore movie.
Perfect. That's enough, but
I know enough.
There is something about that, like marking people. Mm-hmm. Well, and sort of like it doesn't give you context, so then they walk down the street and you're just like, well, there's the whore.
Yeah.
And well, no, it's complicated. Like, this is maybe, it's not as simple as that.
Well, right. We're creating an other class, and that this class is less than us. Like the unvaccinated are less than us because they are killing us. So if they die from COVID, that it's okay for us to be like, well, that's what they get for being fucking anti-vaxxers and trying to kill my grandma. Like
no, Reddit seems to be all about that sort of. You see sort of these side things where they're like celebrating, and it's probably everywhere.
Yeah, well, I mean,
part of me still hesitant to be like, this is probably a conspiracy. Like people are trying to.
I saw on fucking Twitter today, someone was like, Candace Owens is a cunt, and that was the whole thing. And I'm just like, wait, you could just say that on Twitter now? Like, I thought, like, now if that was directed towards AOC, I feel like that would get blocked and thrown out. But since it's going against the other side, which I don't want anyone to get me wrong either. Like I don't identify as a Democrat or Republican. I'm not.
No, I don't either. My joke is I'm a this is pretty strange, but I'm a socialist libertarian, which is you think about.
Leave me alone, but give me everything.
You're like, wait a second, like leave me alone and just give me some. But at the end of the day, I think how I see that is like culturally, I'm libertarian. I think free ideas, free expression, the right to partake in certain drugs, freedom of thought, all these things, politics, religion, those are really important. But I think on a money level, I think because humans are just so gross, like we gotta regulate it pretty hard. You know what I mean? It's not, don't take away and it's not about socialists where like we decide what you are. I mean, that's some weird shit. I would, I 0% support that.
Right.
I think the idea that you can really just at the end of the day just tax the shit out of rich people, and then so you provide for your basic shit, which is like an education, food, water, and a place to live. After that, I think it should be the Wild West. Well, you know what I mean? That's the libertarian of me. Like, hey, once those things are provided for you, if you're still fucking up and your life's a mess, that's kind of on you. But like, if these things are there for you, even resources for mental health, all that stuff, like you have to really do a lot of work to try to fuck up your life in some ways. But our system now is so much like people are left to their own. And a lot of it's because you just don't have resources to help people too. So, but I'm still a libertarian at the core because free speech, all those things are so important. As a musician, it's very dangerous where, I haven't at this point had to question anything I've done as an artist. Like, hey, would some people not see this as okay? Like we have a song called Lucy and the Fuzz where I actually, I cross-dress in it. I dressed up as like a prostitute and I actually had my wife and a friend of ours flip the roles where they were female, became male cops, had like mustaches on. We did this in like 2016 or something. And I did the whole thing and never for a moment did I ever think like, is this offensive? Like, is this distasteful to perhaps someone who's trans or someone who has who's a prostitute or someone who had this experience even, right? But to me as an artist, I'm like, what the fuck? This is all satire. This is supposed to like, and the whole song is about police officers who were using their collateral weight and ability to actually use prostitutes to like have sex with, They're like, oh, we know stuff about you. So now we have dirt on you. And also prostitutes can do the same thing. We're like, hey, I was just like in the back of your car doing stuff to you. Like I have some shit on you too. So it's almost like this game back and forth. And I was trying to show it's not always as simple as just a dirty cop. Sometimes the prostitutes play in this, but at the end of the day, their power trumps it. That was the point of the video. But I even went out and like that Halloween and performed in that outfit. We had a Halloween show. I wore heels, did the whole thing. It was great. Had a great time. But right now, I don't know if I would do that. I at least have to ask myself, could this be sort of seen as distasteful? I don't know if that's true or not, but I think it's a little different just from a sense of like, because it would put me on some sort of idea of sides or something that I don't respect trans people which is the farthest from the truth. If anything, I thought it was an homage to drag queens and stuff, which I've always loved watching drag queens, and I've done documentary footage with them, and I've always been sort of, really interested in it. So it's so creative.
Yeah, I mean, Hamburger Mary's is a good time. I don't know if you've been there, but it's a good time. I had a great time. I went there for my birthday. People get mad at others' opinions and block them and refuse to have an open discussion about their differences. Yeah, and right above that, Hippie was saying, how do we come together? And I think that's an interesting question, followed up by like the result of not coming together, and the thing to do, I think my idea about it is, how do we bridge the gap? Well, we talk to each other. We have conversations, and we have conversations that are sometimes uncomfortable. I mean, you guys have been here when I'm getting eaten alive, and you guys seen me squirming, and vice versa. We, especially on this channel, we have a lot of uncomfortable conversations, but these are the conversations that I feel like we need to have in order to sort of get to a point where we can sort of agree and see, see where people are coming from, because it's just, we're assuming that if you don't agree with me, that we have nothing in common and that we will never be able to be friends or family or whatever the situation is. And that's just not true. I got people, like, I'm not a Trump supporter, but I don't hate people who support Donald Trump. And in fact, I can see, I was actually I can see why some people voted for him, because I started watching some old debate videos from when he wasn't even the presidential candidate yet. And he is like literally talking about he was talking to Jeb Bush, who is George Bush's brother.
I remember when he kind of took him down today.
Oh, he took him down hard. He was like, hey, like they lied to get us into Iraq. Like they're liars. These guys are liars. Why do you want these? And at the time, they were in Jeb Bush country, so the audience turned on Trump. He hadn't won people over, but he's talking about real shit that really, really, like when he was saying that shit, and like, if I didn't have the experience of living through a Trump presidency for the last 4 years, I could see myself getting like kind of ramped up about it. Like, damn, he was really saying some real shit. And too bad he didn't really, come through on a lot of shit that he was supposed to do, and he actually made things much worse. But it's like, I can see why people wanted to vote for him, because he did talk about this kind of shit, how there's shadow governments and the deep state and all. He also said some really stupid, pretty racist leaning shit, but he did say some really interesting things that, if he wasn't who he was, would have appealed to me too, but he's just, he's just so toxic.
There's a very small part of me, I think, that like when I was a little more into some conspiracy stuff, I actually saw, I'm sure you're familiar with Alex Jones and sort of his whole story. And so, I was in, again, like I told you, like 9/11 happened when I was 20. I was like, Yeah. So like he was at the time only guy really offering some sort of counter.
Well, he predicted it. He predicted 9/11.
I know. I remember that one. No, I would say Alex predicts like about 4,000 things a year. So you're gonna,
he's
like,
gonna be
right. I was a baseball player. Like if you swing, if you hit 300, you're a Hall of Famer. So
right.
I think it helps, but in some ways that was true though, because there were things there that plays into that narrative. But I think Trump. This is actually funny. I met Trump twice, even before he ran for president.
No,
I was a golf caddy in the '90s at Firestone Country Club in Akron, Ohio. I'm not sure if you're familiar at all.
No, I'm familiar with Akron, but I'm not familiar with the golf club.
So yeah, Firestone Country Club. It's like the Firestone tires or whatever. It's Akron Rubber City. But they have a pro-am there. It's a professional tournament, but they let like celebrities in sort of, and it's in Akron, Ohio. So you're not getting like super famous people or some shit. It's like
it's
mostly just rich guys like from Ohio, they were just sort of, probably own some corporation. And so, I was a caddy because I played golf in high school, and our golf coach had some ins there. So we would go there during the year and we would caddy for like these professional guys, and so these cars pull up. So they're like valet, and we take their clubs out of their car. And we, put them someplace on a golf cart. So at some point we'll have them ready when they come out. And so that's going on. And every day as we're there, the first day everyone's doing it, they tip great. Like I was making bank, this is like 97 or something. I probably made like $150, I'm sure I bought some dumb shit, but
of course, why wouldn't you?
So these guys are coming through, always tipping really great. And we weren't doing much. You're just like, oh, these guys are rich. It's nice. So like this car pulls up and fucking Donald Trump walks out. You're just like, and at the time it was sort of like, I was like, hey, that's that guy from Lifestyles Rich and Famous. He was sort of like a weird celebrity at the time. He like owned some casinos, I think, or something. So he comes out, we grab his clubs, fucking no tip. No tip. Like nothing, just ghosted us, right? And like and that's all we remember. We were just like, because we were stoked. We're like, oh fuck, this is Donald Trump. He's gonna this is like one of the richest guys around, right? And nothing. And he just leaves, and we're all just like, from that moment, I was just like, fuck this guy.
Fuck.
You know what I mean? It's like, what is this shit? You know what I mean? Like, everybody else tipped. You know what I mean? I even like the caddy I went on, like, and he gave me $100 afterward. I just walked around and like handed some shit. It was a great time.
Oh man,
I remember that, right? And so like, all right, so that was ~96, and then you got like about 2006. It's 10 years later. I'm in Detroit for WrestleMania.
Of course.
Right? Donald Trump's there. He had a hair versus hair match versus Vince McMahon.
No way.
That was the stipulation where if he was gonna have like there was two wrestlers who represented Vince or him, and so he had a wrestler that like if he beat Vince's guy, then Vince would shave his head or whatever. It was a big ordeal, and so I don't remember much. Just feeling like this is kind of stupid. Whatever, Donald Trump. Like hopefully they shave his head because that would be cool, right? That would be a memorable thing. It would show that he has no ego, that he's actually like he wants to put on a show, right? Like he'd take one for the team, right?
Yeah.
That's the whole idea. You think you're going to see it. No, his guy wins. Vince gets his head shaved and he just goes on. You know, so I was just like, fuck that guy. It's all about him, right? Like that was not about like, because as a wrestling person, I was like, I would respect you more if they let you shave your head because you would look like a fucking idiot, you know? So that was the 2 times I saw him in person, you know, and sort of like to me, like I was never going to vote for the guy, but I understood why people did at the time for sure. That was where I was trying to get, where I come from a place where people lost jobs, like, you know, the industrial area. My dad had to move to Alabama to just get, you know, work because the steel industry is just gone, right? So like Ohio's lost a lot. So I get why Ohio wanted Trump because he pretty much told people he would bring that shit back.
Right. Which he did.
That's all they cared about. You know, I don't think it wasn't racism. I don't think it was, I mean, Ohio voted for Obama twice.
Yeah.
And we were like, Trump, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. You know, on paper, you think, man, you guys are a little all over the place.
Well, I mean, literally, the Obama literally handed the car industry a bailout and like all the banks that got us in this position. And that's where I think he lost a lot of people, because how many people do you know that in this region had to take a fucking pay cut, lost their fucking, what's the thing that's pension? People were losing pensions.
All those things taken away. Yeah.
They lost they had to take pay cuts if they wanted to keep their jobs. You know, and that was, and that's leading all the way back to Joe Biden in the fucking, God, I forgot all this stuff. I am such a stoner. But I mean, this is all leading back to, you know,
like NAFTA, a lot of stuff happened.
Thank you, NAFTA.
Yeah,
exactly.
So
NAFTA.
Democrats were about free trade and open trade, which, you know, you can have a really long, complicated conversation about if that's good for people, what it means, but no matter what, it took a lot of jobs away from the Midwest,
especially the Midwest. Yeah,
that's really, no matter what, that's what happened, right? So what do you do with all these people? They're fucking pissed.
Oh, I tell you what you do with them. You make the '94 crime bill and you lock them up in jail and put them to work for slave labor.
I know, even worse, right? Yeah, so put the jobs away and then find ways to get them to more or less, you know, make license plates for $0.25 a day or some shit. You know what I mean? And so like thankfully a lot of that stuff. And that's one thing with Trump. Me and my dad is like one of those guys who's like, I hope Trump gets, you know, hung or something, you know, like he's like, I hate the guy, whatever, but he definitely understands now. Like there are things he did that were great, you know, criminal reform. He did some good stuff there. You can't argue that, you know, that's where it's tough, where you can't pick sides on everything. Sometimes even like shitty people do nice stuff, you know, it's sort of like,
well, and his rhetoric about ending these endless wars, you know, and just
spot on, great. That's just because he's not a puppet from that machine, right? Like, so that's the stuff I get why people liked him, and then sort of like, well, there's plenty. Like, what about Jesse the Body Ventura, right? Like, that makes more sense to me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm still perplexed. Like, why was it him? Like, literally, I think Jesse Body Ventura would still be president. Like, he would be like, he's a governor. He's a libertarian. He was a pro wrestler. He's anti-war. He's pro-weed.
He was a fucking. He was a
Navy SEAL.
Navy SEAL. Like before they were Navy SEAls, right? Wasn't he like one of the first?
He's like like OG shit. You know what I mean? That guy ran like. He's even been on Alex Jones. I mean, he's out there enough, but he's also like actually a really seemingly a good person.
Oh yeah, thank you, Bonnie, for dropping some Ric Flair. We like wrestling too.
I'm pretty sure that Ric Flair might have been at that show that Trump was at, you know, strangely enough. But I do think like it sort of is.
Oh shit! I'm sorry. R. Kelly was found guilty.
Good.
No shit. No shit.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. No, like, yeah. Is there 7 videos of that now? Out there. Jesus.
I'm sorry. Please finish what you were saying. I'm so sorry.
But it's also, man, it's kind of on topic. I mean, some of the Trump stuff is similar to R. Kelly, but it's about power and sort of self-preservation. I think. So, like me saying like he didn't tip, he does these other things. It was all about him. I think that was the thing where having a president who's obviously about himself doesn't trickle down to you. You know, I don't know how that anybody ever thought that would work.
Yeah.
From a political standpoint, right? Of just sort of why he wouldn't do everything just to keep himself in power. You know, and I think that's why I don't know why people voted for him again. The first time I get it, I'm not even confused why he voted for him. I mean, he was literally going up against someone who has a conspiracy that they've murdered, you know, dozens of people, right? You know, it's sort of like, I'm not saying that's true, but like no one, you know, other candidates didn't have that on the resume of like potential things, you know? So it was like a really weird, you know, cocktail of shit that kind of got us to where we were. But
yeah.
And then they give us Biden because everyone needs sort of like a sleeping pill after that, you know, that whole experience.
They literally want people to take sleeping pills because as this guy bumbles through his presidency, he's really going out of his way to really fuck us over. I mean, like this whole stimulus package where he's fucking us and there's so God. I wish I wasn't such a stoner. My whole weekend was filled with like just filling my head with information. Now I can't remember any of it. So whatever.
Biden for me is like he's exactly what the corporate Democrats are. So and there's no real change there, right? So it's the same old, which is like at least a starting point. Like I'm not too bitter about him because at least it was like a starting place. And the only thing I do like about him, I think he's old enough now that I don't think he gives a shit as much about like his party and stuff because he's kind of got that like, damn, I'm just so old. I'm gonna have to just maybe do the right thing here. You know, not everything, right? You know, with money, it's more complicated, but some stuff I feel like.
Well, pulling out of Afghanistan was awesome. I was like, go Biden. But the way that it went down and the way that he bombed those innocent people on the way out
afterwards, yeah.
I mean,
most of it's sort of standard stuff. That's what sucks, you know. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Kamala would deal with it. Yeah, I mean, that's probably.
She's the worst too. I mean, that was the other thing too. Yeah, sort of picking a sort of a vice president that no one wants to. It was sort of like the weirdest thing. It was like they picked the two candidates that no one wanted,
and then they shoved them down their throat.
Yeah, sort of.
And it was just very obvious what they were doing when he was like, we're gonna get a black woman as a vice president, as he's like, you know, he's so happy for the BLM protesters who are setting you know, BLM and Antifa. I don't want to put it all on BLM, but you know, like there was a lot of fire bombings of government buildings last year.
Oh, there was quite a few. No, it was chaos. I do love it. So weird. It's like it's so weird that like it's just gone, right? And like it's so weird. Like how do we go from just burning stuff to the ground to like the next year we're all just kind of sitting out like, you know, having brunch together? It's very weird. You know what I mean? And like everyone felt like it was the end of the world and it was like, we're just back to doing the same old shit. We just kind of got a little wily for a minute. You know, it's very weird.
We were a little locked down. We just needed
I think that was probably honestly most of it is but no one had jobs to go to. So you're like, fuck it, what am I gonna do? Just run around the streets, you know? I
just burn shit down. That's fun.
Yeah. You know, my son was 4 when that started, you know, so to me it was like I don't have time to go do any of that. I gotta like you know manage this whole thing. So I'm like, you know,
no, I got invited to the protest here in town, which ended in tear gas and broken windows, and no, I'm not going down there. Like, why would I go down there? Like, I'm not like I have a 7-year-old son, and you know, I mean, I have family. Like, I don't give a shit. Like. I do give a shit. I do care. I have biggest problem with authority, and that's I think the most confusing part is that the party that I was associated with, this idea, the left, you know, this liberal ideas is something that I associated with so hard. And now when you look at what's going on and look at what that represents now, it's like they're just bowing down to corporatism. They're bowing down to authority. They're defending authority and defending these people who are literally trying to fuck us over at any chance they get. Like, what happened? I thought we were the fucking party of rebels. Now we're the parties of fucking of bend over and do whatever we're told. And
very true. No, I mean, like the right now is like we're the guys who swear and like we're against censorship and like you're like, what the fuck happened? Like I was like, when I was a kid, you guys didn't want us to play video games. Like I didn't like know what happened. You know, it was sort of like.
Right.
It's very different. You know?
It's very lefties won in Germany as well. Hooray. Or maybe not. Well, look, I don't know what lefties are in Germany, Moving Dutchman. I don't know what that means in German.
I think that whole country's left by default, so I don't even know what the heck that even means. You know,
I don't, you know, like I don't. What's up, buddy? Thanks for being here. It's good to see you, my friend.
Yeah. It is good. I mean, to me, like the issue with why I would still vote Democrat is because I feel like they're more malleable. I think the right and where they're structured are far more institutionalized and they're more derived from like churches and more religion. There's a bit of that still there, like the demigod, the savior.
Yes.
You know, as much as like people think Fauci's like on a pedestal, but no one ever thought he was like bringing Jesus back, you know, and some people like thought Trump was really sort of a spiritual, like he was bringing the shit back. Like this was like, he was like the Messiah. And I think any party that sort of can't ever really address that because they know they'd lose too many people, it's hard to work with that, you know, where I understand, like, I'd be more like the Tea Party people. I'm like, all right, I can at least talk to you about this shit. You know, you don't want taxes. All right. I mean, this is complicated, but never felt like they were trying to sort of they want to seek out sort of individuals to like do it for them. You know, and I think that's sort of like the left also has that problem for sure, you know, where they look to officials too much.
Well, no, really Moving Dutchman, when he says spiritual, he's saying that people saw him as a god, which is true. I mean, have you seen the
weird? Yeah, like not even like joking, more like he's actually going to bring back like the whatever
The
it is.
second coming, yeah, like
yeah. There's definitely a part of people.
If you watch, did you watch the QAnon or follow any of the QAnon stuff?
No, I want to watch the HBO documentary
The
about
HBO
it.
documentary is the shit because gods have extra tiny hands. But no, when you look through these threads, when you look at like what these people really did believe that he was gonna come down and overturn votes and you know and have fucking his vice president put to death or something. You know, like people really did think that Donald Trump was something higher than human. And when you watch the QAnon doc, or if you follow it at all, like you can see how deep this shit goes. So, Moving Dutchman, yes, people looked at him as a spiritual figure because they really did think that he was going to drain the swamp and change everything. And well,
even that level, like even when Bush, I'm old enough to remember that there were, especially during like the post 9/11, people saw him as in the same ways. Like they were kids like bowing down and worshiping him. Like he's like. He's going to bring in God's army, right? And I think that's pretty real that people, that wasn't widespread. You know, I never saw anybody in my own life, you know, praying to a George Bush pinup, but it exists, right? And so,
well, yeah, because people are
probably
like,
less common than not. You know,
he's a good religious man. You know, he's good with God, and that's where I get to. You know, with the Republicans, it's like you get to a certain point. It's like, yeah, you're for freedom of speech, sweet. I get that now. That's weird that you guys are about freedom of speech, but okay, here we are. You know, like they're about all these like very reasonable things that was somewhat liberal at one time, and then it gets to, but you can't have abortions. Because God says he'll make them cry, you know, like it's like, and then here comes God into the situation, and then you have fucking, you know, these Republicans in Texas creating.
Trump did. You know, as you say, he did hold the Bible backwards. He did upside down in front of that church. That was some of the weirdest shit ever, right? People watch it, they're like, oh, there's actual meaning behind that, right? He's doing upside down because that spells out some sort of date. You know, that he's going to take out the Democrats. I mean, it was that weird, you know, people were clinging to anything at that point, you know.
Yeah.
Obama had a cultural celebrity too, you know, it was a different thing, you know, he was cool. Like everyone was like, oh, this guy's so cool. I want to like hang out with him. And you're like, well, he's bombing people right now. You know, it's sort of like
lots of brown people.
Yeah, like I'm sorry, but like that's part of it. And I mean, most presidents are guilty by association. It's a narrative. That's a big part of it. And even Bush now, there's so many people on the left, like they love Bush. They're like, oh, he's so great. He paints pictures. He's so nice. Him and Michelle Obama are sharing gum. Isn't this nice? And I was like, you guys were saying Bush was a Nazi. Like, you might even have that tattooed on you somewhere and you're not showing it. You know,
I can't believe how much people are just fucking applauding this fucking war criminal, this lying fucking war. I'm like, this guy is a fucking dog. Like, fuck that guy. Like, I was so fucking, I smiled so big when I saw that video going around of that veteran standing up when he was talking. I think it was out west. He was talking.
That was great. Yeah, you need to see more of that. I think that's so real. That was so honest. You know,
beautiful.
Yeah, it's like there was no bullshit there. And the guy's like, I'm not trying. He wasn't trying to get followers on his TikTok. No. He was just like, fuck you. Like I'm tired of people applauding you. Like I've seen people die because of choices you made, right? And I think that's sort of, we forget that, you know. I think
it's fucking garbage people, man. And like you were saying earlier, it's like how much have we just sort of forgotten or let go of, and we just are like, well, that didn't happen, so we'll just keep moving forward. Like this is absolutely normal, and this is how life should go on. You know, it's really gotten odd. Really,
and we're all really picky of how we want to preserve life, or we're all hypocrites. I'm actually said that earlier, like with like the hypocrisy. Really, we all deal with it, right? I'm just to blame. I'm like, save the planet. Like, you know, the oil industry is terrible, and like I don't do recycling. Like I just haven't. I don't know why. Like we don't have a recycling container. All I have to do is call to make it happen. I just haven't. I don't know why. Like it's the easiest thing. And like actually, you know, I'm an environmentalist. You know, I justify it because like we don't have a big output. So I'm just like, I'm not making much garbage. Yeah. But even though it's like, fuck me, you know what I mean? What am I doing? Like, it's sort of, we're all hypocrites in some ways. You know, we try to pick the things we're hypocrites about, you know, that aren't as damaging, you know. And so, you know, part of me feels like most plastic, you know, we're already screwed. So what's the difference? You know, that part of me is there, which I think a lot of people feel that way sometimes, but it's not true. You know, it would still help.
Yeah.
But it's hard not to be a hypocrite of yourself at times.
Exactly.
And, you know, it's super, like, people are always like, look what Joe Biden said in 1993, or like, is he supposed to have the same beliefs? And like, it's like, we all said some weird shit, you know? So even that's hard, where we're going. I think that's my favorite, like Back to the Future now is like, if they redid that movie, it would just be people trying to go back and see what people said and did so they could like post about it when they went back.
Yeah.
Like, that's the Back to the Future 4. You're just like, what the fuck is going on?
Marty McFly dropped the F-bomb and I don't mean fuck back in 1985. He was being a homo.
I got a pretty clear midget joke, like, because I had a friend who was a little person, and like we did pro backyard wrestling, and I still have this memory of like calling him a midget because it was like a Dean Malenko joke or something. I don't know if you know who that is, but
is he the guy
wrestler?
No, never mind. I don't know.
But it was in the dark, and I remember saying like, "Oh, Malenko's a midget," and I just hear him running at me in the dark, and he starts punching me, and it was like, but now I think how dumb that was, but like we handled it in the moment. But if I had like made that joke on Twitter, Dean Malenko's a midget, who the fuck knows what happened? You know what I mean? Even though it's not a terrible joke, but it's just sort of. I mean, the joke he's got short arms and legs. He's a little compact guy. It's not a terrible joke, but that's the stuff I think about sometimes where it's like, we definitely live in a different world.
Or what, I mean, like the thing is that when we were kids, like we could say like terrible things that we would never say now, like the F-bomb, and I don't mean fuck, there's all kinds of things that. And like
I was trying to watch a movie the other day. It was an 80s movie. It's called like something Monsters. Like it's not Little Monsters, but it's a kids movie where they fight all these old like Dracula and like the Swamp Thing. I was like, I'll watch it with my kid. He's 5. I'm like, this can't be that bad. It's PG-13. And like we're watching it, and it's like these kids in high school or middle school, and it's just like everything is just super homophobic and like racist and like so many like just every like the worst like language. I'm just like. I just turned it off. I was like, we're watching something else, buddy. He's like, okay. I was like, man, like those are different times. Like that was normal.
Age well. Yeah. I mean, like back when we were doing that, I mean, so like if there was a Twitter back when we were just talking and doing things and just
early 2000s are right too. Yeah, you're right, lady friend. Like that's sort of that's not that far off.
No, it's not. Even some early 2000s are kind of cringy to watch looking back at the 2021 lens. Yeah, totally. I mean, mid 2000s, even 2010. It wasn't until about like 2014, 15 when things really started, maybe even earlier than that. It was probably like 2012-ish when all this really started to ramp up.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that was, a lot was ramping up during that time too. So, but I actually kind of want to look into this R. Kelly thing a little bit because this is pretty interesting, and I guess we are a music podcast, so we should cover some kind of music stuff. Let's go have a look at the New York Times.
What's going on with R. Kelly?
So here's some live updates. Important takeaways. Let's see, 5 takeaways. Hold on. Let's see. Update. R. Kelly found guilty. One important takeaway from the verdict. What it could mean to the family of singer Aaliyah, who died in 2001. Jurors found R. Kelly responsible for the bribe of a government employee that allowed him to marry Aaliyah in 1994 when she was 15.
Yeah, I actually remember that story a little bit. Damn, that's even more like, wow. Yeah, he's going forever. That's like some gangster stuff. I mean,
he's bribing fucking officials. Jacqueline and...
Get access to minors. I mean, wow.
Yeah, the acting U.S. attorney in Brooklyn thanked the 11 men and women who accused R. Kelly of misconduct at the trial. No one deserves that they experienced at his hand or the threats and harassment they faced in telling the truth about what happened to them. We hope that today's verdict brings some measure of comfort and closure. What, are we going to just read tweets? What's going on here? Who is this? A woman who testified against R. Kelly in 2008 said the trial that ended on Monday in a guilty verdict was a big relief. The singer Sparkle was hopeful that R. Kelly would elevate her 12-year-old niece, an aspiring rapper, to success when she introduced the girl and other family members to the R&B star. But years later, she would testify at Mr. Kelly's first criminal trial that a sex tape at the center of the case showed Mr. Kelly having sex and urinating on her teenage niece.
Yeah.
And what was interesting back then? We were like Dave Chappelle just made fun of all.
I just thought the same thing. It was like this skit, right? Like he was like, "Oh, this is kind of funny." You're like, "This is insane."
This is horrible. And
that's good satire. I mean,
that's
real satire, though. I mean, he was showing how crazy that shit was.
Exactly, and how much people were still. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I still
supported him for so long.
I still step in the name of love. I'm not gonna lie.
for me, it's bump and grind, right? I was like 13 when that song came out, like in like the back of a minivan with like 8th grade girls. It's like, this track's pretty cool.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
dumb,
exactly.
like,
You're finger blasting the fucking I Believe I Can Fly. What the fuck? You know, these
I was
are
hoping that none of that happened because I was the friend, but hey, it was all right. I was at least like R. Kelly was inspiring me to like my future self, so it's all right.
there you go.
But even that's pretty bad, you know what I mean? Sort of like that was his first song too. It almost gives you an indicator of like what he was about, you know, in a way that's fucked up. Like sometimes I think about what's the song that really broke a band. You know, sometimes it can like give you some insight to like, you know, who they are. I always actually say like, how did the band start? Almost is always my one thing, you know.
Right.
Did R. Kelly start music just to have sex with girls? It seems like that might have been a big part of it.
I mean, he was very
You know what I
talented,
mean?
and so I mean, it's not like he wasn't a talented cat, but gee whiz.
Yeah, like, yeah. So I mean, you got to retrofit him in the sense of like, how does his music fit? Even this morning, like my son asked me what our favorite Michael Jackson song was, and I sort of like, that's like, even that in itself is complicated. You know, I can't like, my honest answer is PYT, but it's just like, I don't know if that's really the best song that, you know.
Pretty young thing.
Yeah, Pretty Young Thing. You're like, wait a second. God damn it. Like,
damn it.
but I would actually say Thriller. We'll go with Thriller because that one's got nothing weird like that. And that song is fucking fantastic. But
love it.
Yeah, that's
I don't care how many listen, everybody's listening to me right now. I don't care how many kids fucking Michael Jackson diddled. I fucking love Thriller. So
yeah,
sorry.
and it's like there's sometimes I just like I'm sorry, like that was the one thing we let him like son listen to, where like you can watch the Thriller video and then that's it. Like you don't need to like
that's all you get. I mean,
after that it's really confusing and I don't even know what to tell you. But yeah, Thriller is amazing. You know, it's just sort of
All right, let's read through a little bit of this and then we'll move on. But R. Kelly was found guilty Monday of sexually abusing women, boys and girls for decades, capping the 90s R&B superstar's stunning fall from grace. The I Believe I Can Fly crooner 54 was convicted on all 9 counts, including racketeering and violations of the Mann Act, which prohibits the transport of any woman or girl across state lines for any immoral purposes. He faces 10 years to life in prison. The jury of 7 men and 5 women deliberated for about 9 hours across 2 days before reaching their unanimous verdict. From the beginning of the month-long trial in the federal courthouse in downtown Brooklyn, prosecutors painted Kelly as a predator who used his fame and cadre of employees his cadre of employees to prey on young victims. The case is not about a celebrity who likes to party a lot, Assistant U.S. Attorney Maria Cruz Melendez said in her opening statement last month. The case is about a predator. Wow, what is this? R. Kelly sits in the jury. Foreman reads guilty verdict in Kelly's sex abuse. So this is him. This is him getting there. There's your verdict, you fucking monster.
yeah, he's just a shit. It's like sometimes I'm always like confused how something can go on for so long. You know, I don't always like say like, oh, like you know, people are guilty by association with it, but it just seems like it reminds me of the Bill Cosby stuff, the Epstein things, where it's like, how does any of this stuff go on for so long? I guess it's just sort of compelling. And usually, it just comes down to money.
Money, yeah. If you got money and power,
there's no point. Like you imagine if Epstein was trying to run an operation with like $20 and you just got like a hoopty. Hey guys, you want to go like hang out, give me a massage? They would have been like, get the fuck out of here, like you know. And it's all about that sort of the money side of it. It was always been, you know. I think that's how even with him, it was sort of the prospect of becoming famous and him like grooming, you know, sadly more than that, but the idea of grooming into like an artist and helping you get a shot, you know, which is something I think girl artists have always been fearful of. I assume like that's why you got the fact that a lot more artists can be DIY now and gets rid of that shit too. Yeah. It'd be so frustrating as a female trying to navigate that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
the
even
producer side and all this shit, like, is this person trying to have sex with me? You know, it's like, it just seems so like frustrating where, you know, if you can record your own shit and do your own thing now, you don't need these monsters to prop you up, you know, to give you a chance, you know, just because you're famous or some shit, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was Bill Cosby too. The whole thing was like, oh, I'm going to help you get acting gigs. You know, if he was just this weird dude talking about pudding, and like, you know, maybe he was just a shitty comedian, maybe, but it was sort of like
he was a good comedian.
About sort of that whole like
no, you're right, and it was definitely a power thing, and I think the biggest thing with Bill Cosby is how much he would talk shit directly to other comedians, especially young black men, young black comedians, about representing their race better by talking better, and like Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy and fucking Chris Rock. He called all these men and was like, stop cussing and stop saying the bad words because pudding pops.
That's what's important. Yeah. You know,
meanwhile, his fingers are knuckle deep in some passed out chick in his fucking in his hotel room. So it's like, fuck that guy. He can eat. He can take the dick. But then you saw that he got out, right?
It's so bizarre. Yeah. So that's like the fear of this R. Kelly thing too. It's like you find some sort of, oh, this person like said this. Oh, I guess it's a mistrial now. Right. It's so kooky, you know. That's your fear as sort of these victims have to see that shit, you know.
Oh God, it's horrible.
Cosby's the worst. I mean, it's like if Cosby can get out, then anyone can. I would say at this point. I mean, what the fuck? That guy had like, there was an entire New York Times page. There was like it looked like 100 women who were like all like, yeah, Bill Cosby, you know, did this. It was sort of on a level of just sociopathic, crazy stuff. You know, sort of very strange, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. To prove the
record. So see you later, R. Kelly. Well, Space Jam's still all right. Don't fuck that up, you know.
And we still love you, Space Jam.
Yeah, Space Jam's all right. You know,
I still believe
Michael Jordan just tried to play baseball and had a gambling problem. You know, that wasn't that bad.
To prove the racketeering charge against him, prosecutors showed juries how Kelly used a network of friends and employees in his inner circle to transport his victims across state lines, control their actions, and facilitate the sexual abuse. Prosecutors from the Eastern District of New York called a parade of witnesses who testified about this abuse about the abuse the disgraced singer subjected them to. The first to take the stand was accuser Jerona Pace, who said Kelly repeatedly had sex with her over the course of several months after the two exchanged numbers at a party at the singer's suburban Chicago mansion when she was under 18 years old. During the last encounter, Kelly, whose full name is Robert Kelly, allegedly became enraged at Pace because she was texting on her cell phone and did not address him when he walked into the room she was in. That she told the jurors, what a fucking asshole. Kelly smacked her in the face and forced her to perform oral sex on him after berating her, she said in court. During the testimony, she read from a journal. Okay, well, we don't need to keep reading. We know he's a piece of shit. And
yeah, good. I mean, that's good. That's sort of that's like the Me Too movement stuff. Is that this is right in that same space, you know? Yeah, hopefully, yeah. The social credit system would probably prevent some of this. I guess.
If only Robert Kelly was on a social.
Where are you, China? Yeah.
Where are you, China? Get over here. We need you.
More R. Kellys from heaven.
Yeah, the rich do have different rules. It's
yeah, that's as simple as you can say. That's what that is. Yeah.
And the fact that that Bill Cosby's out and just being free after a lifetime of just destroying women's lives, and the fact that he's just out there living his life, just eating pudding pops and shit, is like it fucking makes me feel just like it's just like the worst. I don't know, man. Like I know I don't have any real connection with those women who got abused. I don't have any connection with Bill Cosby, but I fucking hate to see like the hypocrisy of this society when I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm just working myself up. There's no reason for me to keep going because I'm just working myself up. Yeah, man. I don't know.
He is the perfect example of that because I actually do remember a lot of like watching CNN and he'd be on there, you know, through the 90s, 3000s, just talking shit all the time about other people and like morally and really what that, you know, why he was sort of the moral compass. I think like that's something to look for in other people. Like I think the people who are telling you that they are the you know, the moral compass, that they are the moral high ground, sort of strange enough are the ones who are furthest away from it. You know, it's like,
yeah,
that's why I don't trust preachers sometimes. It's always like, you know, I like you're saying all this great stuff and, you know, but I don't like, it seems like sometimes you're trying to make up for your own problems, you know, and it seemed like that's what's going on there, you know, like trying to make up for all your guilt, you know, and I think with him, like, yes, like swear words are the problem in society. I don't think that's
not rapists. People who cuss.
Exactly. We were talking about that actually coming back from a gig where like Garrett, our sex man, we're talking about sort of just censorship and maybe like my kid now, and this is something you got to, you know, your kid's 7, like when by the time they're adults, do you feel like they're going to be in a place in which there is no censorship now. Like the whole bleeping thing will just be gone. Like part of me feel like this is a dinosaur, right? Like you've got people probably from like 70 to 90 who just like that shit like gives them heart attacks. Like they like they get
he said that.
Like if they were on TV and I'm just like, fuck you, you bitch, they're just like, huh. They're like, I'm like, all right, maybe we'll save them. But there's gonna be a point where like we're not far from like 60-year-olds were like the people who created gangster rap.
Yeah.
So what the fuck's going on? Like, how are we gonna like? Are we past that? I was kind of telling my son because I don't censor stuff with him. I just don't. Like, I'm not trying to like here go listen to something here, but I'm also not going to shelter him because it seems like it's an old thing. Even censored music is just such a strange idea. And it's mostly derivative from like the radio and TV, which have like these rules. But with the internet now, I mean, there's like, do you really need that?
Yeah.
Will that be gone? Like, how much longer are we going to get the bleep? I guess that's like my question.
I don't know.
See it being gone in like 10 years. Like, I honestly think it's possible.
Right. I think the way things are going is like, yeah, we'll probably lose the bleep. We'll probably be able to see titties on American television during the day, whatever. But I think the censorship is shifting into, you can say fuck you, you can show your tits, as long as you're following the narrative. And so
as long as it's not hurting anybody's feelings or something, right? Like that's where it gets weird, right?
Well, as long as it's not hurting anybody's feelings and deviating from the narrative, right? Which feelings are involved with that now. So I do see the censorship sort of going towards like, this is what you can talk about, this is what you can't talk about, but we're gonna let through all the, you can do all the sex, all the hetero, gay sex you want to do. You can do all the fucking shit and pussy, whatever. You can say all that stuff, but don't have an opinion about, that you're against abortion or you're against, homosexuals getting married or something, which, that's stupid shit that people should let go. But still, there are people out there who are very religious, who are like, hey, this is not right. I don't believe in that. And that's fine. They can live in their world as long as they're not trying to force that idea on people. And that was the problem, is that you had all these people for the longest time coming from the right who were censoring people, who were saying gays can't get married. And so like this huge pendulum swung back, and it was like, no, not only are fucking gay people gonna get married, but we're gonna have fucking, we're gonna introduce, sex to children into school now. Like now we're going.
There's
so
always
far
there's like an
the other
overcompensation.
way.
Always
Exactly.
happens, right?
So now
that's humans too. Yeah, like you got a door, I'm gonna like dive through it. That's sort of like.
Who are we really protecting with these stupid rules? Yeah, who is that?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know who we're protecting with that censorship,
old
right?
People, or who are these children who can't handle me swear word? Yeah, like I don't know. It does seem ridiculous, but I do see it more going on like the topics of what you can talk about rather than what you can actually say.
That's where censorship is. Yeah, in some ways I'm a little more okay with that because it's about the context in some ways, but that's subjective too, right? So that's when it gets hard to say, well, how could you? Is this okay to say? Like it didn't offend me, is there a robot that's going to know if you're offended or not, and it'll bleep it out for you if it does?
How they're doing it on YouTube right now is that they're incentivizing people to self-censor. So they'll demonetize your video if you talk about something like ivermectin or alternate therapies to treat COVID. They'll demonetize your shit. And I mean, once you get to monetizing your channel, and if you're making pretty decent money off it, you're gonna notice that the episode being demonetized, and so now you have people who are just not gonna talk about that shit anymore because they need money too. They're in this content creation where they're trying to make money, make a living off of doing what they love. So they're going to stop talking about ivermectin. They're going to stop talking about lab leak theories and shit, because they're going to get demonetized. And so that's where we're starting, but I can see it going further, and just making it
That's interesting. No, I actually think that's sort of
government policy.
It just changes and molds and adapts into different forms.
Right. Well, now the government is sort of is outsourcing their censorship to corporations. So now they're leaving it in the hands of Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, who make these arbitrary decisions on what's right and wrong and what's going to hurt this person's feeling, or this is.
It's tricky. I don't think any humans are able to do that. I think it's actually funny you talk about someone was bringing up the Bible. I think that's actually like the best example of something that was censored in a way by people to create a narrative that like is just so off the wall. Like I don't know if you're that familiar, like I got pretty deep into sort of like lost scriptures and like other gospels and things that were taken out of the Bible and all this stuff that sort of like filled in the blanks, and it was sort of really like wild. It was like, holy shit. It really was just some people at some point who were just being like, this one doesn't work. I don't like this one because this doesn't work with this narrative, you know? So, you know, to simplify it, like there's this thing called the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, which is supposed to be, is pretty much about like him having a family, you know, children, being married. Like, it's like all this weird shit that would like, it's just so weird that like, so it's not that confusing that a society based on that book would also be a little more apt to maybe do that, you know, at times when they were already, they're like censoring their own God. They're like, I don't really like that part that Jesus did. That doesn't work for me, you know, even though I know he's the son of God, but I don't really like that whole, like the whole teenage years. We're gonna pass on that. You know, it's like,
we don't need that.
They're like, he's born and he's 25. You're like, oh, what happened? Like, those are some weird years, man. Like,
don't ask. Don't ask.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
don't
he's just
ask.
sort of like wet. The joke was like, he's just like having wet dreams, you know, like just like hanging out, like, you know, just sort of this like awkward, like pimply kid, you know, just sort of like,
hey, I'm going to turn the water into wine, guys. Sure, Jesus, sure.
Yeah.
You little
like
twerp.
Building shit, yeah. But like, sort of like, but that shows you just sort of censorship's been a part of us for forever, right?
Absolutely.
You know, if they're censoring the Bible, like, you know, of course we're going to censor the internet, but
right.
There's more people to have opinions about it now. I mean, back then it was literally probably like a couple of dudes, which I'm sure, who were just deciding that at some point, and then it just sort of, you know, went from there. So, you know, we all get to kind of make up our own rules sometimes now.
Yay!
Hopefully,
let's make up our own rules. Modern times must be such an adjustment for the super religious people, since society was created based off Christian rules, and now they're the ones being left behind. There's a reason he started hanging out with prosties. I gotta get my dick wet.
Yeah, he's probably like, man, you guys are annoying me. You keep showing up my door, like telling me how great I am. I'm just like, man, I'm not that cool. Like,
just gonna go hang out with some hookers.
Even like he's like, you know, the idea of like he's the son of God. And I think he's probably just like, hey man, like we're all like the son of like the children of God, man. Like we're all God's children. They're like, oh wait, he's actually born to like. He's the son of God. And they're like, yeah. And he's like, no, I was just trying to tell you guys, like, we're all sort of in this together. You know, it's like, I think that's the comedy film I love, like the misinterpreted Jesus film of just like,
well, I mean,
God damn it, like you guys missed so much shit here. Like, this is really
Jesus,
confusing. Like, him coming to modern times and being like what? Like, that's not what I meant.
You guys got it all wrong. I mean,
yeah, like wait a second.
The story of Jesus itself is about censorship, you know, like murdering this dude for talking essentially heresy against the Romans. So it's like
they were dealing with that at the same time. Yeah, like it's spot on, you know. So it's like,
I mean, did you hear about Julian Assange, how the CIA wanted to murder him? Like that just came out today, that Julian Assange, who is a whistleblower who leaked some papers that showed the CIA, you know, doing terrible things over in Afghanistan, and he was a part of a lot of leaks that you know, shine light on a lot of atrocities that our government was doing. And so
was he WikiLeaks, correct?
He's WikiLeaks. Yes, he was the head of WikiLeaks, and I can't remember what the big thing they leaked. I know they were behind a lot of major leaks, but so the CIA came out today that the CIA had made plans, drew up plans to murder him or assassinate his character, and all these things that just came out, and it's like, wait, you guys wanted to murder a journalist because he was calling you out on your shit?
Yeah.
And so ultimately they didn't end up killing him, but they did end up, you know, I think that they probably did end up assassinating his character.
Yeah, the character assassination. Yeah. I mean, in some ways it's almost just as powerful, or in some ways it's.
I mean, because now Julian Assange is just a rapist, right? He's just a rapist. He's a fucking rapist. Fuck Julian Assange. He's a rapist. Which sort of may or may not be true. So
yeah, and sort of he's sort of like, he's an interesting one. I mean, similar to like Snowden and stuff too. It's always like, it's tough to really understand who the enemy is at this point. I mean, in many ways, like I think the more access we have to information, the better. Even though information can be forged and it's not always true. It's sort of like, that was my whole thing with QAnon. I was like, at the end of the day, like people were literally like, reading the screenshots as like evidence. And I was just like, man, I'm pretty sure like that's a pretty shit like form of like evidence, like literally like pixels on your screen and like cropped together and like not even Photoshop, probably some like offbeat version of Photoshop, that like that was like always like, man, guys, like you got to show you this video. I'm like, it's just fucking screenshots. Like this is the whole thing. But I get the paranoia. I mean, that's the thing too. Like the Democrats now, like this is again where like it's flipped, where the left seems to be all about the FBI and the CIA. So there's sort of this moral, like incredible company that's so respected around the world, and like they're just out to get the information. Like it's like the Hardy Boys or something.
Get the bad guys.
Crimes, like the Epstein stuff, even Nasser lately. Like it's like a shit show. Like they covered stuff up and like all the coups and like intervention in other countries. It's just sort of, I'm not saying they're evil. I think it's unfair to be like the CIA is evil, right? That's an unfair thing.
Or the government is evil, because the government is like bus drivers.
Evil people. There are evil people who work in the government. Sure, I'll say that, right? It's sort of, it's all kind of relative that way. But yeah, I do want to watch that QAnon documentary though. I'm really fascinated because I had at least a couple friends who got deep enough into it where I almost had to like just walk away and take a breath. I was like, all right, we'll talk in a couple of years once you let this kind of cool off. Like, it was like I was like, damn it, like give me like 2 years, you'll probably be like, yeah, man, I don't know, that was a little fucking weird, but whatever. I'm like, all right, let's just go hang out and drink beer. It's not.
I don't know though. I don't know if in a couple of years it's gonna cool out. Like I don't know. Like it seems like it's just ramping up. Like it does. Like especially Trump is coming back, and
I know.
Like it's all. I mean, it's not going away. Like this energy, whatever this energy is, it's not going anywhere. Whatever this lockdown, like because the biggest thing that I think this country or the world even, but especially in this country, what they saw was the veil sort of ripped off during this pandemic. They saw the cracks and the lies and the hypocrisy, and like you can walk through a restaurant with your mask on, but you can sit at the table with your mask off.
Yeah.
Because COVID respects boundaries. So it's like,
it's not about logic. A lot of it's about feelings. I think that's like, for me, there's any danger in like how we're moving forward as humans is like being empathetic. There is some, yes, we need to become more empathetic as humans. That helps. But I think basing decisions on emotions and feelings is super dangerous, because that goes equally like, oh, I just want to make sure everyone's safe and sound and happy. Right. Well, good luck with that. That ain't gonna fucking happen. But you also have people who, are just consumed by fear, and it makes them do logical stuff, so it's just sort of, it's not possible, for no one to not feel, sorry, like suffering is part of existence. And so
that's the biggest thing that people don't want to understand, is that to make any kind of gains in this world, you have to have some kind of suffering involved. I mean, you don't have to, but it helps, and it helps you maintain your character throughout any kind of successes or failures you have. And the best one I love is I think Joe Rogan makes this, is like, when you work out, you have to stress your body out, and you have to suffer through this workout, but at the end of it you feel amazing. You're building muscle, you're building longevity and stamina, but you have to deal with these like horrible hour and a half of just sweating and pushing and fucking dealing with it. But when you come out of it, you're fucking stronger, literally stronger. And you feel, I mean, not always, you don't always feel better after some fucking struggle, but after the struggle is over, you start finding a way, you start fucking changing things, you make that change, you keep moving, and eventually you come out of it if you were making those necessary steps towards getting out of it. I want to hit this hippie smiles, because I would like your opinion and maybe your input on this, but can I ask some advice then? How can I talk to my right-leaning parents who I haven't spoken with in months? They seem to poke her constantly, and I guess just try to have calm discussions. Sometimes you have to admit that they're never going to change their opinions, and love them for raising you to be a smart adult. That's a great place to start, Bonnie. That is a great place to start. I don't know. Do you want to? I don't know if you can deal with this.
That's something I deal with. I think sort of, the place I come from, it's like in Medina County, Ohio. It's a place called Spencer. But I think, having family out there, and who have sort of opinions that are based in some of that area is challenging, because I've kind of gotten to a similar place where like I don't really go out there as much as I used to, and some of that's for political reasons. It gets a little scary. I think when some people get into more of those like end times of feelings, you know, and these are people who have guns and stuff too. I'm not, you know, it's not like they're legally owned and stuff, you know what I mean? But it's like people with mental issues who also own guns. I'm like, I don't know if I really want to hang out there, you know, not necessarily, you know, I'm all about self-preservation. You know, I'm like, you know, reincarnation sounds great, but I'm pretty sure I got one run at this. So I'm trying to make it last.
Right.
But I think I have found that I'm able to have conversations with them about this stuff, but it's never in theory about changing their opinions as much as trying to like give them more information so they can maybe think about it themselves afterwards. I think it's really hard to change people's minds about stuff. They have to do it themselves. Yeah. You know, I think that's sort of, it's like the idea of like your reality is very limited. And so like if other people can at least help stretch it out a little bit, it might help. But I mean, most people are pretty set in their ways. It's dangerous, especially older people. It's sort of like common for me that, hey, this is what I believe. I'm going to die with these beliefs, right? I think I've been trying to, as a person, to say, I don't think anything I believe now is unchangeable. And, you know, I might have beliefs when I'm older that are different than now, and I think that's okay. So maybe talking to your parents in that mind, that like there is still a time for them to change, and avoiding them definitely isn't going to solve it. But it's frustrating. Again, yeah, it's hard sometimes where if you're trying to avoid negativity, I think it sucks that you'd have to stay away from family in order to do that, you know, so.
I don't get traditions. Change is constant.
Same with you. Yeah. I think, that's the only, it's just constantly changing. And even your opinions about stuff. I think like my favorite author says, the moment you begin to think or believe something, you stop critically thinking about it. And I think that's actually pretty awesome to think of that.
Who's on that?
Like, this Robert Anton Wilson. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's a great author.
What's his name?
Robert Anton Wilson, like Anton.
Yeah. Wait, what's some of his books?
He's done a book called Prometheus Rising, which is great. He did like these Illuminati trilogy books that are really fun.
Jesus Christ, I love those books. Those are amazing. Yeah. So he's the one who did the Illuminati books. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So he's really into a lot of that sort of
whole
stuff.
series. I bought when I got it, it was all one book.
Yeah.
And then I did dude, fucking what is it? Ancient zombies marching from underneath the waters. I don't know. Do you remember? It's probably been a while since you read that.
No.
There's this part that I remember where they found Nazis underwater who were just sort of frozen in place, who were coming back to life to march on.
I remember there was like speaking dolphins and stuff.
Yeah,
like,
speaking dolphins.
He was great at like mixing fiction and nonfiction,
right?
And so he was really influential in me. I mean, as a songwriter, I think from a sense of like,
wasn't he? I'm sorry.
A lot of my philosophy. That's not a word. Philosophy. It's derived from a lot of his stuff too, of what he wrote at a time when I was sort of interested in that stuff. But it really is true. Like once you say like, well, you know, the grass is green, right? Well, yeah, but sometimes it's not because it's been hot for too long and now it's brown. So it's like, it's this weird thing to say, but once you say the grass is green and you don't really question that, it's like you're always going to see the green being grass, even when it's not. You know, that's sort of like, I think that's what he was trying to say in some ways. It's like always, you know, question yourself too. It's all right to question your own beliefs at times.
Was he into metaphysics?
Yeah, a lot of metaphysics stuff. He was into a lot of Aleister Crowley things too. So he would introduce him into a lot of his ideas.
That's right. I remember that because I went deep on him once. I think it was like a while ago when YouTube was still YouTube. Finally, I'm back. How's everyone doing? We're doing good, Wrecker. We were just talking about Robert Anton Wilson and the Illuminati series and some of his Dustin's philosophies come from Robert Anton Wilson. Oh, good. Book suggestions. I'll keep an eye out for them. I went deep on him. Shut up, buddy. I went real deep on him. Oh, baby.
Prometheus Rising is the best one. That's the one I got given to people before because it's like this weird book that introduces these ideas, but it has like drawings in it, and they're almost like chapters where you're like, hey, we're just going to focus on this. It's almost like taking a class, and he's just like the coolest teacher you've ever had. You know, he's just sort of showing you a lot about symbols and ideas and how we perceive the world. So that's what got me into him specifically is
well, not Prometheus, but what got me into Robert Anton Wilson was his symbology work and his I don't even remember where I heard of him. It just ended up in my possession, this book, and you know, it was crazy. I
He was
love
actually
Elton.
also, he was really involved with misinformation campaigns in the 70s through like Playboy and other articles, where him and a bunch of writers, as a spoof, like as a satire, decided to start writing articles that were just made up, just dumb shit, like the weirdest stuff. And they would all like, all right, well, you're going to write an article too, and say like, oh yeah, this guy's super right, you know. And like and what happened is, as they were doing it, they scared themselves and were like, we got to stop, because like everyone is just completely on board with this. Like, we are literally just making up shit. And it was a cool experiment.
Yeah.
There was a great there's these people who they have a project where they try to do studies for universities, and they were all made up, and they were like, how far can we push these? And they were winning awards like,
Bogosian.
Like,
Eric
it was
Bogosian.
like, you know, reasons why dogs, like, you know, dogs erections like promote like masculinity issues in modern society. It was like that weird shit.
Yeah.
And they were like,
and people were
like, this is amazing, like this is so thought out, like they were getting awards, and they had to stop. They're like, no, we made all of this up to show you guys.
No, they didn't. They
actually, like,
they were going to keep going. They were actually going to keep going, but they were found out. So they had.
That's right. That's what it was. That's right. Yeah, they got found out.
Because they wanted to keep it pushing, because I think they had like a whole overall plan. But yeah, Eric Bogosian was one of the people who were behind that, and fucking
love that stuff.
Awesome,
that was
too.
Genius, actually. Which is, like I said, inspired by a lot of Robert Ann Wilson stuff. It was like, damn, that's kind of what he did. I'd be interested to like ask, like, if there's a way, like, are you familiar with other like misinformation campaigns? Probably.
Right.
But it's very powerful, because it just sort of gives you perspective to go, hey, you know, just because this was published doesn't mean it's true.
Right.
You know, even though a bunch of people who said it's true, like, and went to school, doesn't mean they're not full of shit too, because they want to get grant money, or they're just wrong. I mean, that happens too. So
yeah, people get married to their ideas, and they're just like, no, this is it until I die.
Like, figured it out, like dinosaurs, right? Like, now we know dinosaurs have like a bunch of feathers, and the T-Rex, when it wasn't like, it was like, it's just this really annoying, like feathery, like bird creature, like honking at you, and you're like, shit, that's not nearly as cool, you know. But
it certainly is not. I'd rather see.
But when you're watching Jurassic Park, you're not like, I don't think this T-Rex is real. You're like, that's what he is.
That's,
you know. And now we know that's not the case, you know, which is kind of cool.
It is kind of cool. Man, we have, you know what? We've gotten through a lot of things, but we haven't gotten through Eyes of Xylem. Is that what?
Xylem. Yeah, Xylem. I'll explain. So Xylem is like the connective tissue in plants. So that was I went real deep on the concept record, where I was trying to get into sort of like.
Well, let's talk about it a little bit. Let's get into it a little bit, because I mean, shit. This was released in March. When was this released?
Yeah, this was released in March, and so we, you know, as a band, we were just pretty much playing shows up until the end of 19, and then like once we were like, we usually take time off to prepare for the spring, and then COVID hit, so we just never really, all right, well, I guess we're not doing anything right now, so we went and did sort of with studios being closed, and we didn't have any material, and so we just started working on a collection of songs that I at one point was like, man, I think a concept record and something from a narrative perspective would be different for us. We've done it before, but usually just a song, you know, is more character driven or has a story, but never everything on a record. And so we found an artist who I worked with, and I pitched the idea, and I wrote the treatment, and we created an 8-song record that, you know, every song tells the narrative. There's pictures that go along with like a comic book. So it's something to try to watch or look at while you're listening to figure out the narrative. It's not as straightforward. It doesn't have like voiceover work or something, you know. It's like, as the characters enter the room, you know, I might do one of those in the future actually, but that was pretty much the gist of it. And it was an idea of trying to do everything ourselves, because, you know, not being in a studio, you kind of are limited to time and restrictions. And so for us to do a concept record, it never made sense. Like, how do you do a concept record in like a studio? You know what I mean? It didn't seem attainable. And we don't have a budget to like go to Abbey Road for like 4 weeks. And so I started building songs, and we did everything remote. Like, everything was, we would send each other files, which we'd never done before. We mixed it ourselves, mastered it, and made it work. And so the Eyes of Xylem as a short concept idea is about perception, and sort of it's like seeing the world from two different perspectives at the same time. So that's what the story is. Like, there's two central characters who are Elder and Willow, who are tree people, and they have one eye. And so collectively they give you more the perspective of how they're simultaneously experiencing the story, but they're experiencing it in a different way. And so that's pretty much like the gist of it, without giving too much away. The artwork was great. We worked with an artist named Andy Thomas out of Toledo, And so he had never done anything like this before. He does some character drawings and stuff. But.
Can you hold up the comic book?
Yeah.
Can we just get a little taste?
Yeah, so like it even starts here. It has a sort of like all the lyrics are done in story form, and there's like a little like prologue where we sort of like the Twilight Zone where you can sort of read that to get into it. But yeah, each song has its own page. It's a spread, so you get sort of this wide angle image, and it just goes through each song. So you kind of turn it as you're listening and trying to figure out the story. So we did some classic comic book kind of style paneling, but also different stuff, more landscapes. And then, like it's very subtle. There's a lot of hidden stuff in there. It's like a Where's Waldo kind of approach to it.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
The size of the kids' book too. It's sort of like, actually, I'll be honest, like I grew up having a son now who's reading a lot. I like the size and format of this.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a kid's book sort of.
It does. So it does look like a kid's book sort of. Yeah, that's awesome.
And we did a 12-inch before, so this was a different, and then we have a little 7-inch that we put inside of it that has 4 of the songs off the album. So we did that with Little Elephant and Toledo, who do these like lathe cut stuff where you can do shorter runs. And so we did that, which was really fun. But then, and then we also did like the concert film, which is how we capped it off, because it was weird to like put out a record and not even have a show. It was like,
so
no record release show. Like, okay, so we filmed the concert and then streamed that as our record release so people could watch it at home. And then we even like played it at Howard's Club H on the big screen. Like there was no way there because it was like, pandemic, it didn't work. But I think that it was fun to put something out like that.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah, absolutely. It's nice to fucking have it. As you guys can see here, it is available. You guys can go buy it, stream it on all streaming services. I didn't put Spotify in there, but you guys can find all the stuff from those links in the chat and in the show notes. Everyone who's listening on the audio side, there is a link in the show notes. So go click on that shit and show your boy some love. The Brecker is saying critical thinking is probably one of the things I 100% think needs to be taught in school and not something you take in university. Oh my God, right?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Because then they have issues where people get to college and don't have any experience, and then they're doing critical thinking like almost like as infants, which can give you some weird ideas. I imagine.
It is. It's like your whole life you're just surface level, not thinking about nothing more than just my goals in life. I don't even know, like whatever it is that you're thinking, and then you get struck down with some real harsh shit, and you don't know how to handle it. And
yeah, so, I mean, being 18 to 22 is a clusterfuck in itself, right? So it's sort of tough to be like, here, now we're gonna explain to you why like America's complicated, and and you're like, oh, it's not complicated, it's a terrible place. You're like, no, it's not. It's complicated. That's how I feel. It's sort of, it takes critical thought to see the good and bad in something, and
absolutely
not get focused on those things for sure.
The idea that America is somehow this awful, fucking demon place is like, well, I don't know if that's true, because I think, on this level, like the thing is like people like to talk shit about America, but then they love to fucking come and bite on our artistry, and they're fucking our artists, our music, our fucking musicians. It's like America leads the world in creativity and music and art, and it's like, I'm not going to sit here and take all the credit, but how many motherfuckers around the world are rapping right now? Okay. How many motherfuckers around the world are playing the blues or rock and roll? It's like these things these all come from this place. And whether you think it's a fucking demonic hellhole or a place of opportunity, I don't know. There's still people still want to come here. There's still a bunch of immigrants that are borders.
People are literally willing to perhaps die to come here. So I don't, as much as like that means something. They understand what's still possible here. I think it's like it's a work in progress. I think that's how I've been trying to come to terms with too, where like think democracy is like it's never over. Like it's like something that has to be like worked on forever. Like it's not like, oh, we figured it out. Cool, this system works. Good, guys. All right.
Stopping here.
Yeah, like, we're good. Cool. Everyone's happy now. Everyone's got what they need. Right. All right. No, it's kind of more of a
America is scary,
which is scary, but it is scary when it's a work in progress, right? Because everything's sort of unknown, right? It's sort of, we're very young. We're the babies of the world. I mean, we've been around for 200 years. There's plenty of places like that have buildings that are twice as old as like this country, so it's sort of hard to not feel a little scared sometimes when it's kind of the Wild West here still. Like
Also,
it wasn't that long ago. It was fucking cowboys like shooting each other in the OK Corral. You know, we're not that.
That's
far
how we settle shit.
You know what I mean? Like that's not that far away.
I'm afraid of Americans. David Bowie. Well, you know what? David Bowie's dead now, so look where that got him.
I am too, though. No, I'm afraid of Americans.
I am too. I am too. That was a shitty joke, hippie.
But I agree. Yeah, no, I get it, Bowie. No, yeah, we're pretty like wild.
No,
people.
we're scary as fuck. We're armed to the tits. Okay,
yeah, we're like the rejects of the other countries. We're like, fuck this place. I want to go like do my own thing. You know, so that breeds a very different type of people.
It is scary. It's a scary place, but you know what? Freedom is not free, and I know that's a fucking ridiculous statement, but
costs $1.05.
It costs $1.05. It does. But also, you know, like freedom is not a free thing. It's scary. Freedom is a scary thing that people don't generally get to experience, especially throughout history. And I would like to point out another thing. There's other countries where women can't drive cars or get stoned to death for, you know, showing their face. So, or they get tossed off of buildings for being homosexual. So, you know, I get it. America's a weird, scary place. Yeah. But you could also not have clean drinking water. I mean, I know
that's a big deal. There's a lot of things to take for granted.
I mean, Flint, I know everybody Flint, but still, it's, you know, for the most part, we have clean drinking water.
You can't use the internet or the TV as a way to gauge like where we are as a country. I think that's apparent now. I think it takes a lot of people a long time to figure it out because I was the same way where it's just like, man, I want cheaper weed. That's funny. Yeah, exactly. That's what a mission for that. But anyhow, I think the problem is that people just don't. I don't know. It's okay to be afraid of a country that's a work in progress because if you want security, you're going to give up a lot of other stuff. You know, it's even like schools. It's like, well, a lot of people are afraid to put their kid in school. They're like, well, people are going to show up with a machine gun and just shoot my kid. And you're like, maybe, but that's such a small likelihood of that happening. That it's like, it's not like that's happening in America all the time, right? It's not like, you know, it's like the TV seems like it's fire. The country's on fire, you know, like literally on fire, or it's being flooded. You know, everything's in disarray. But then when you walk outside, like you just go, "Hey, neighbor," and they're like, "Hey, how you doing? You want some bread?" And you're like, "Yeah." And you're like, "Shit, I don't think things are as fucked as they're making it out to be." I mean, it does seem that way sometimes. It's a little bit because it makes you watch the TV more. Yeah, it's a sad thing, you know. Like the January 6th stuff. I think that was the last thing where I was like, I got sucked into it, right? Where I think I like heard what was going on. I ran home and was like watching the news. I'm just like, this is weird. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah.
Mighty, thank you so much for that gifted sub. Mighty. Thank you, Mighty. Much love. Thank you for gifting us.
I think, America's not as scary of a place when you just step outside and hang around people. Like, because we're not hanging out with each other too, right? Everyone's scary. Our neighbors are scared of our neighbors. I think they're like, we don't hang out with our neighbors as much. I think there is something to that sometimes.
So on top of Flint, Michigan, what else do we got here? So Reina put in the chat some cities, what does it say? Places in the U.S. that don't have access to clean water. So, you know, we're talking about clean water, and there's apparently there's hundreds of cities. But this is what we're talking about with this we have to fucking build our own infrastructure back up.
Yeah, you can't do that if you don't pass a bunch of taxes. There's just no way. Yeah, that's just expensive. Yeah,
Pittsburgh, Jesus.
Yeah. A lot of the infrastructure that was built for our country was built in like the 50s too, after like the whatever you call it,
World War II.
Yeah, after World War II, they had that big boom, like the Great Deal or whatever that was, and so they were just building stuff everywhere. But like they were taxing the rich at like, I think it was like 85%. I'm not even lying. It was like,
damn. And the rich was like, "Hey, hold on."
They're like, "Wait." They were like, "Yeah, but now we have all this infrastructure that makes us like the most like, you know, for shipping and moving stuff. We took, you know, that's why we were leading the world." Right. But that was only possible because they taxed them crazy. That was actually how they were mostly taxed until like the 80s. But there's a great quote where like Roosevelt was like, "If you can't live on this, like you have a mental condition." It was like the craziest shit ever. Imagine the president saying that to rich people now. Like Biden was like, "Hey, you rich people, if you can't live off of this still, even though I'm going to tax the shit out of you, like you have a mental problem. Like get over it." Like that was like pretty badass for a president to say that. And that sounds like a socialist nightmare, but I get it now. It's like,
well, it's nice that we have safety nets for people who really need it, and like it's like I don't. There's not there's
water's fragile, man. Fragile's fragile, like fragile. I mean,
yes,
you only need a couple of things to happen, and all of a sudden, no one's got drinking water. And so, if we're not
exactly.
prepared for that stuff,
Oh
it's
shit,
scary.
Puerto Rico doesn't have clean drinking water. God damn.
Yeah.
Brady, Texas, fucking Texans.
Yeah.
Look at this, Baltimore. That's a whole goddamn city.
Yeah, probably just tainted water, a lot of issues. Yeah, they have to like ship in water.
Skyrocketing water rates can leave American communities without the means to pay for water. For example, in Baltimore, Maryland, in the past decade, water rates have more than doubled in order to pay for repairs to the city's water infrastructure, resulting in what some have called a water affordability crisis. The United Nations standard is that no household should pay more than 3% of income for water service, but in 2016, Baltimore residents living on less than $25,000 a year were paying more than 3.6% of their income. Yeah. So there you go. So Jesus, Milwaukee could make America great again, right?
I think it's the stuff you take for granted sometimes. You think America's in a better place than it is. It is. Right. Just like there's so many different places in America at this point. What's that one?
No, that was Las Vegas, but that's understandable.
Access to water too.
Yeah, access to water. Yeah, exactly. Fucking, they're just draining the Colorado River and Lake Mead. Alabama, well, that's no surprise. Uniontown, Alabama. New York.
Yeah, it's probably just lack of clean water still. Yeah, just like people are probably just like drinking bottled water there all the time.
Kentucky, Tacoma, Washington. I mean, these are just like whole ass cities. So like even in San Diego, I lived in San Diego for about 13 years, and even in San Diego, they were like, you need to fucking, filter your water if you or don't drink tap water. Like nobody drank the tap. Everybody knew like you don't drink the tap water because the pipes are from like 1903.
It's wild, man. That's wild. Yeah,
it hurts.
We take that for granted. Like in Bowling Green, we have our own water system here too. Like it's internal, so we have that control. But that's unique. That's not okay. Where my mom lives, they have to have it shipped in. I think it costs like $120 just to have water. Like this is like turn it on just to have it. That's pretty.
Yeah, Oregon's the same thing. I'm in Oregon, and Oregon has its own water system. So when Toledo went tits up with that whole, what was that called? The algae, the algae bloom.
The algae bloom.
A few years ago, everybody was drinking bottled water, and there was kind of a crisis going on. And fucking Oregon was fine because we have our own system.
You can kind of but that's sort of again like not common everywhere. For sure. I can't even imagine which water is going through New York City at any one moment. Just can't even actually.
Right, and people can't even drink it. Like what? I'm sure that people are drinking it. I mean, I would probably drink it. It hurts.
Some people are. I mean, there's people in some countries taking baths in like sewage water. So
like what is that river in India?
That's the one. Yeah, like it gives you spiritual powers. It's just poop.
It's poop water. Everybody go.
Yeah, that's not spiritual. That's poop.
Oh, good old lead pipes. Yeah, it hurts when you realize that a lot of our decisions are built around cognitive bias and logical fallacies. But I like to think one day we will get to a point where we can accept people are naturally flawed and grow from it. You'd think that, but
it's a big part of it, is like it's like you expect perfection from some people, which is not even remotely possible. Like you can't believe they said that. Like how could they or something? It's because they're flawed.
How could they? How could they do such a thing? Okay, so we're getting close to the end here. How are you feeling about performance? Are you feeling burnt out, or you feel like you got one in you? How are you feeling, bud?
No, let's just talk. No, I'm like kind of sweaty now.
No worries. Well, we're at the end here. So, I really enjoyed Eyes of. Please say it again for me. I'm just an idiot.
Xylem.
Hot tub.
Xylem.
It's no. I'm not turning down the temperature in the hot tub. Y'all are gonna sweat. And that's how it is. That's just the way it's gonna be. Sorry, I just took you out of the hot tub. Everybody, go get the album. It's in the chat. Just go and stream it. Go do it big. It's a really good. And I wish I could play. I know I was playing at the beginning, but I wish we could actually like sit down and listen to it. But we cannot. So there it is. The treenoleaves.com takes you right to it. Huh? What? That was my son who likes to just interrupt whenever he feels.
Mine almost stepped in earlier.
It's fine. It's just how it is now, everybody. This is our world that we live in now. Our children come to work with us. So yeah, go and check it out. And is there any gigs you got coming up, or is there anything you guys got coming up that I don't think there's any.
Yeah, we got
Toledo
this week. We're playing a Sacred Harvest Festival.
Oh,
which
yes,
yes. We're actually opening up Thursday night. So if anyone's in the Northwest Ohio, Michigan area, it's a really great festival.
Yeah, actually, let me bring that up because I would like to give love to those guys. I love those dudes. I love
Andrew with
Andrew and is it Andrew and is the guys from Wax
Yeah,
Wax
they kind of started it. There's a guy named Wayne he's the one who kind of
Wayne Fest, yeah. So this is
last time I was there, he showed me some like witchcraft that was going on in the woods or something. It was pretty funny, but found like this shrine of bird skulls or something in his woods. I was like, it's either witches or like some hippies that snuck off at one of the festivals, but I'm not sure what.
Whatever happened. He showed it to you.
We're playing Thursday night, 10 o'clock. And then we're also playing Friday at Arlen's, which is like a jazz club in Bowling Green.
Oh, cool. Is that the coffee shop? Is that
No, this one's it's a brewery that just sort of opened up a couple years ago, and so it's like in the residential area.
Oh, cool.
They focus on jazz. Now we don't really play jazz, but we just play less amplified sort of versions of our stuff. But and they're also playing on Saturday at a place called Juniper Brewing, which is in downtown Bowling Green from like 7 to 9.
Wax Wayne. Yeah, there's a guy on here called Wax Wayne. So they're dropping some emotes. The one thing I wanted to point out is Broken Robots are on, and they've been on the show before.
No, they're great. No, I think
I love those guys. The lineup's not bad, man. Like, I love the dudes in Cactus Jack. Day Drinkers are good. Act Casual's badass. Bacano's a bunch of fucking shredders. Subterranean shredder. I don't know, Cheesecake or Left Lane or Octave Cat, but
those are like super groups, like offshoots of some other major projects, like The Works and
Left Lane Cruisers, Chris Hauser, and Chucky Love.
They got some people that kind of do something unique for like the headlining slots.
That's really cool. Yeah, and Lotus, the dude from Lotus, and Dopapod, yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go, guys. This is actually pretty cool. I've played one of the years with my band, so I had fun. It's just a thing. Anyways, this is what's happening here in Ohio. And what's funny is that these guys all last summer were just doing these festivals, just like fuck it, pandemic, fuck you.
I made it work. No, they had one last year, and it's like, I mean, in many ways, once people realized like outdoors was safe, it was kind of like, all right, well, fuck it,
it's go time, bitches. But
like,
Ohio,
fine, this is good. Yeah, like we're already.
I feel like Ohio was one of the only states that were doing things like this, and we were able to do things like this. And I don't know if they were doing it legally or not, but they were just doing it, and people had a good time, and there was no problems and no spreads or anything.
It didn't seem to be. You know, I tested like Black Swamp Arts Festival was here in Bowling Green like 2 weeks ago, and then that brought 20,000-30,000 people over the weekend, and there was like no outbreak. Nothing like, oh, there's a huge spike in Wood County. Like our numbers are down. So even that in itself is sort of like, if you want to make it any more confusing, like throw a major festival and then have your COVID stats go down. Like you're like, I don't understand anymore.
I don't get it in my brain.
As a musician, you just don't know what to expect. You just go out there, you do it. Right. We need to play to survive and sort of just keep sane and keep making music. So, and we have more shows, in like a 8-month span this year than, most years combined. It's just it's been great to have a lot of opportunities to play live music again. So
yeah, man. Oh my gosh, Mighty, thank you so much. Mate. Thank you so much for gifting a sub to Davey. Davey is eating sandwich. Oh, eating a sandwich. Thank you for gift subbing that. I appreciate you. Let's go back and say our final goodbyes to our friend Dustin of A Tree No Leaves. Dustin, any final words of wisdom you want to share with us before we raid off into the night?
It's important to hydrate. I think that's very important still, just as a rule of thumb.
Thank you for that woo, Reina Mystique. Hold on. There's one more thing. Our conversation is can't. Oh, what happened? What happened? There it is. I just wanted to do that. Okay.
Not much, man. No, that was a great conversation. Appreciate having me on. Like I said, we're TrinoLeads.com. We've been at this for 10 years or so, and so we're just chucking ahead and just keep playing more music and trying to do more stuff. And yeah. Thanks for having me out.
No doubt, man. No doubt. I'm trying to find some of the raid. You might have to raid with us. Actually, yeah, we're just gonna raid over to. Let's go Nick Black music. You guys want to go Nick Black music? Nick Black is a sexy, sexy singer. Not that, well, he's a good-looking young man, but he sings happy, sexy music. Oh, whoa, are we getting raided? Or did Reina? Oh, Reina's raiding for us. Oh, Reina was like, I'm not waiting for you. How dare you raid it? Okay, well, we are raided, everybody. Dustin, thank you so much for being on the show. We will be back on Friday with Hottie Plays Music. Hottie is an amazing Twitch streamer. He just released a song with Mike Shinoda of Linkin Park, so he is killing it right now. And mods take over. Yeah, it is. We're raiding over right now. Yeah, get your raid calls, everybody. Get your raid calls. Hey, what's up, CT Music? What's up, buddy? We are out. You're just in time to raid. It's raiding. It's showing raid right now. It's showing the raid. Yeah, I'm sure Dustin has to pee as bad as I do. So, so we'll be back on Friday with Twitch streamer Hottie Plays Music. He is out of Dubai, and I'm really interested in talking to him. He's killing it. And of course, we'll be back. Love you guys. I'll see you guys over at Thug Shells. So get your raid calls. Get them. Have a great day. Happy. Thank you so much for dropping in. Thank you, Moving Dutchman. Love you, buddy. Bonnie, much love to you, too. All right, guys. Peace. Oh, wait. What happened? Wait, we're not raiding. It said we were raiding, and then it said leave. I don't think we're raiding. Oh, we did. Yep, we just raided. Okay.
All right, cool, man.
All right. Okay, we raided. Hold on. Let me end this.